For the last few weeks, I come out here and sit here to play Simpsons Wrestling, listening to you spin your little nursery rhymes about Jabroni Avenue or Know Your Role Boulevard. Jesus Christ, son, you better get your ass serious because Stone Cold Tommy Prophet is going to take his ass to Lee Carvallo's Potting Challenge, check right into the smackdo'h Hotel, roll right into Route 316, and burn that son of a bitch to the ground. You look at me. Take your little glasses off so I can see your eyeballs, son. Pull them off. Because I want you to look right here. When that bell rings and the match is over, you are looking at the next Simpsons Wrestling champion. Because Lee Carvallo said so.
King Stone Cold Steve Austin is focused.
As far as right now goes, the big celebration is after, where Stone Cold is going to drink a hell of a lot of beer. But I think we ought to share a little pre-match beer right now as we play the Simpsons Wrestling.
Big-ass beer.
Welcome into episode 19 of Lee Carvallo's Potting Challenge, a Simpsons gaming podcast that looks at all the highs and lows of the Simpsons tie-in video games, plus all the tombstone pile drivers, mandible claws, sweet chin music, people's elbows, and stone cold stunners. Can I get a hell yeah? That helps shape them. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy.
Heavenly powers comfortably hail you. I'm Derek.
And today we're talking about the first and only Simpsons video game released on the original PlayStation, the first game that featured 3D characters and one of the most derided entries in the Simpsons gaming pantheon. It is Simpsons Wrestling, which released in Europe on March 22nd, 2001, and in North America, April 12th, 2001. And we got a lot to talk about, Derek. There's a huge topic that we're going to get into, and there's just a lot to really jump into with this game. So I think that we can... Wait a second. Derek, do you hear that?
What?
My God, I think that's Stik Braxton music. What the hell's he doing here?
What's up, man? How you guys doing, man? I'm here to, what did Undertaker say? Take souls, claim souls, something like that. He's weird.
I love... It's so funny going back and watching like some wrestling stuff that's just so corny, but it's like also like, you know what? It's my corny. Like I was into that. Stik, man, it's so good to have you here on the pod. I have to say, when we were going down this route, playing all these Simpsons games, Derek and I think immediately when we saw Simpsons Wrestling was one of the games that we were going to get to play, we knew we had to have you on because I think out of everyone that I'm friends with, you probably have the most wrestling knowledge. So I need you here to help back me up as I'm trying to work my way through maybe some spotty pieces of my own memory, but was also just generally really excited to have you on, and it felt like a perfect fit.
I appreciate it, man. Once this pod started, I got really excited once I heard episode 1. I was like, I hope one day I get a call. I just didn't know where the call might come from. But once I think I saw y'all out and about in Richmond.
Yeah.
And yeah, you said, Simpsons Wrestling's the one. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm with it. That's just, you let me know when and I'm there.
I think I remember you also saying, I heard that game's not that good.
Yeah.
So yeah, We will definitely get into that. And before we get into your history with pro wrestling, because we do need to talk about that, for our listeners who might not know you, you are the host of several outstanding podcasts: Two Tall Boys, Star Chaser Central, Charles Hamilton Podcast, Clueless Vino, and most recently, Together We Anime, on top of publishing 3 poetry books, 2 novels following Detective Alicia Parsons, all of which can be found at braxtonbooks.com. And so my first question is, Stik, how the hell did you make time to goof off with me and Derek and play this game and come here to record? Because you are a busy man.
Sometimes I ask myself the same question. You didn't even add my most important job, and that's being a dad.
Yeah,
that's
that too.
that's the one. That's the one that takes up most of my time. I make time for the time that I need, man. And once I heard y'all needed me, man, I'm here. But yeah, sometimes I get tired. But then I see what Derek does, and I'm like, I can't go to sleep.
I feel like y'all are competing at this point for like most podcasts, right? Because
No.
really, I feel like it's got to be close, right? What number are you at, Derek?
5 currently running right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stik, you're at 4, right? Am I counting it right?
We'll call it 3.5. Clueless Vino's on hiatus right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, I guess 4.5 if we're following with style, because it doesn't really update very regularly for me. So like, we're pretty close.
Look at that. So, yeah, I mean, you two are the busiest podcasters on the East Coast, I think. So, but truly, I mean, it was, we knew that we had to have you on and wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to all of your projects. And you have just so many different like artistic endeavors that you're working on, Stik. And so I just wanted to ask how, like, do you have like a different approach going from like one podcast to the next? Because like each of those podcasts are like very different. I think they each have like their own different tone. They're all great. But like, how do you do that? How do you jump from like one to the other and like maintain the quality that you do?
I don't know. I think it's just each podcast comes with like a different need from me, right? So like when I'm on Star Chaser Central, it's more of like it's like a passion project is how I describe it. So like, I love this guy's music, so let me just, revisit some of these things. Whereas Two Tall Boys, I'm just kicking it with Keem, just, chatting away about what's happening in the world, which is on fire. And then like on Clueless Vino, I get to just, I'm interested in other people's hobbies and what they like. So when I had, you guys on and other guests, I'm legitimately interested in what y'all are doing, what you guys' thoughts are on certain things and how you feel. So each thing just comes with a different need from me. And I like to wear different hats, I'll say.
Yeah. And you do wear a lot of them. So yeah, that's awesome. I want to just give a shout out to, especially to Star Chaser Central, because like that is a podcast that as a person, I love anything, surprise, surprise, deep dives into stuff. And so when you started that podcast, I was like, I don't know anything about Charles Hamilton, but if it's a podcast with Stik on it, I'm going to give it a listen. And like, man, y'all like honestly do like such a good job of making it accessible for new listeners. You have a pretty good, you have a pretty nice following of people who have been Charles Hamilton fans. And so like, I was blown away, like kind of jumping into the first episode of that one when that launched, like what, a year ago now, 2 years ago,
about almost 2 years. Yep.
Almost 2 years. And like, just being like, man, like I can actually like, I can get into this. I can understand everything you're talking about. And yeah, I just have to shout that out because like, that's such a hard thing to do, to like bring new people in and also make it interesting for people who are really ingrained in the hobby. So props to you for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate that, man. I will say that's probably my most fun pod I've done so far, just because it's taken something that I really learned in college, like freshman year, discovering him, and what it's like discovering like your first artist that nobody knows about, and getting to watch them grow. And his story is so interesting with just his highs and then like his lows and his redemption and what he's going through now, and just if I could go back and tell 2007, 2008 me that, hey, you'll have his number and you can chat with him and you'll call him and you'll talk to him. And, we're coming up on episode 100 and, we got some special plans for that. He wouldn't believe me. So this is just one of my favorite pods I've ever done, man. It's been a very rewarding experience.
Really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And again, like it's a testament to I mean, what you and Mike do. I think you put out a good product, right? Like, I don't think you would have people. You probably wouldn't have, his number if you were putting out a bad product, right? Like, so it's definitely a huge testament, I think, to the work that y'all put into it. So
Yeah.
And not to downplay your other podcast too, because every time I turn on Two Tall Boys, I end up laughing at something. I especially love when y'all find like a not a meme, but like a post on like Instagram or something, and it's like a one's gotta go, or ranking, like I think you did like superhero teams or something at some point. I also feel like I get called out sometimes. There was an episode where I think it was like around Thanksgiving where you were talking about people still wearing shorts when it was like really cold out, and you were specifically we the people wearing shorts, and I looked down and I was like, damn, I'm wearing shorts. He got me. It was very funny.
Respectfully, man. The people usually look the same, but I will say this: we the people, and you're not we the people. I'll put it that way.
For sure.
And that's a good thing. I'll say that.
It was one of those moments where I was like, man, he's right. I'm wearing shorts right now. This sucks. But yeah, it was definitely a category I didn't want to be put in. But no, it's, super funny and also really deep. I mean, y'all go really deep on conversations and stuff like that. Y'all did interviews with having someone else come in and interview you each. And I thought that was just like such a really cool concept. And Anna interviewed you. So that was really cool. Oh, I don't know if I should bleep her name, let me know. But
it's fine, man. I think everybody knows the mother of my child.
Yeah, there you go. Always want to be careful about that stuff. I don't know who.
It's all unless Rihanna's listening, and then yeah.
Okay, cool. Specifically in Rihanna's feed, we will bleep Anna's name. So
I appreciate that, man.
She is a subscriber to all of our Glitter Jaw podcasts, though.
It's
actually, she has
crazy.
Good taste. Yeah,
I had no idea, but yeah. So you have a lot of podcasts. You also have a lot of hobbies, and wrestling. Pro wrestling is one of them. Was one of them. Is it still one of your hobbies, Stik?
Still watching every week, man. Every week, every pay-per-view I can get my hands on. Yeah, man.
Damn. You are more dedicated than I, sir. I fell off pretty hard. I've not watched in a long time, but I always find myself being like, kind of want to go back because it's really, really fun. So how did you get started watching pro wrestling?
So one day I'm sure I was just sitting around, probably before bed, and my parents turned on TV, I believe probably USA Network. And then you just hear that Raw theme come on, and you're like, ooh, what is that? Then you see these larger than life characters. Sometimes they're based in realism. Sometimes they're occupational guys in the wrestling. Like, here's a baseball player wrestling. That doesn't make sense. But you just get drawn into it, and the crowd and the music, you know what I'm saying? So I think WWE Raw came on one day, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I think I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna stick around and try to watch this.
Hell yeah. And you have your NWO shirt on right now. Were you a WCW guy or were you a WWE guy back in the day?
So I tell people you ever feel like you're the guy on the porch, the old guy on the porch shaking his fist at the kids on the lawn?
Oh yeah, all the time.
The kids now, they're like, oh, it's AEW versus WWE. It's a war. No, you don't know a war until your favorite shows came on at the exact same time, on the exact same day, and you had to choose, or you were flipping back and forth. So that means you were going to miss things. Nitro and Raw, same day. It was sick work. I will say that for a long time, I did lean towards WCW.
Mm-hmm.
And for the reason being is I just thought the NWO was really cool. They were really cool. They kind of, and we'll get into more of it, but they exuded a cool that wasn't seen before in wrestling.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
People are wondering who's going to be next. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, it's invitation only there, chicos.
Well, you talk about the money. You talk about beating people up. Well, it's a new world order, and I hope it's okay because there's nothing you can do about it.
That's right. Power, fame, money, and now our own corporation. You know, think about it. NWO. We're new. We're taking over World Championship Wrestling, and we're giving all the orders.
It's the new way. Is that okay, Billionaire Ted?
You don't like it? Come and fight. Is WCW even gonna fight, or we just gonna take it?
We make the choices. Wait for the call.
This is one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk with you and to talk about this era, and like honestly, like, because Derek, I mean, I'll just go ahead and ask the question. What is your history with wrestling, pro wrestling?
My history with pro wrestling is that my worst fourth grade bullies were super, super into wrestling at the time. And that kind of turned me off for a long time. And I mean, as I've known plenty of people since fourth grade that were really into wrestling and are wonderful fine people. So I know that that's not, indicative of wrestling fans. But it's never been a thing that I've ever gotten into. And I do get it. Like I've had many people tell me that, like, if you probably could get into wrestling, you'd probably really enjoy it. Cause I know that there's kind of like a showy camp factor in a lot of ways that you can appreciate. And it's all about big characters and like lore and like colorful characters, and sort of almost like a soap opera, theatrical soap opera type of stuff. So I totally get that. And a lot of things that I do like incorporate wrestling into it. Like I really like tokusatsu, and so much toku stuff like is just there's a lot of crossover between toku and pro wrestling. I'll just say that in many ways, aesthetically and in terms of the way fight sequences are and everything like that. So like it totally makes sense, but it's just I don't have room in my life to get into another thing that big, for one. But also it is like there is such a deep history to it that is kind of like intimidating in a way. Like y'all are talking about like NWO versus whatever. It's sort of like, the people in NWO. And I'm like, I'm the grandma over here who like would be saying like, that Superman movie is a Marvel movie, right? Like that's how I feel with like wrestling stuff. Like I can tell you some like the big wrestlers that I remember, that like the household names, like I know like Stone Cold Steve Austin and like The Undertaker and like Kane or whatever, but I couldn't really tell you anything about like who their characters were, you know what I mean? Other than like the John 3:16 thing, which I've never understood. Like that I know random bits and pieces that anyone in pop culture would know, but that's really where it stops for me.
I'm so happy you said all of that, because we're going to give you a history lesson today, Derek. That's one of the goals of this episode, is to have a nice baseline understanding of what the Attitude Era really was, because I think that is like the key. That is like what propels wrestling forward, and is what is like most people point to as like the greatest era of all times. You probably don't even know like what is an era? Why are there eras? There's multiple different eras in pro wrestling, and it's like not necessarily cut and dry. It's like one era starts and one era begins. But
yeah, that also sounds very like tokusatsu, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, there's eras for like Godzilla films and things like that too, right? Like, so it's, it's a storied entertainment form, right? Like there's just so much into it. But before we jump into that, we're not just here to talk about wrestling, although I don't know, we're going to talk a lot about wrestling today. Stik, we're also here to talk about the first family of adult animation, The Simpsons. And so I got to ask, what is your history with The Simpsons? And if you have any, what is your history with Simpsons video games?
So it's crazy. I think a lot of people will say you're crazy if you've never watched The Simpsons or you're not into The Simpsons. But that is me. And I think the reason is not necessarily because I didn't like The Simpsons. I think I've heard y'all's story. I've heard how, you're, in your house, parents kind of let y'all watch The Simpsons. Am I right on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, my parents didn't let me do that. And so in my mind, The Simpsons was an adult show. There was no kid friendly portion of it that would have been like, you can't watch this because kids shouldn't watch this. And so that's how it was presented to me.
Sure.
So when the Simpsons came on, I know the theme song. I can tell you what the intro looks like, but I can't tell you like the wrestling lore. I can't tell you the Simpsons lore like that.
Sure.
I can tell you bits and pieces and stuff, but I was never able to get into it. So then when I got into adulthood, it just became, when people say, do you like the Simpsons? Like, not really. But it wasn't because I didn't like it, just because I just never got into it.
That's totally fair. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, it's not uncommon to have heard, like, my parents didn't let me watch The Simpsons, right? Because Bart Simpson, bad boy. He was a bad influence. And it just wasn't something for kids, right? Like a lot of parents would look at it in that way. But have you watched any since? Like, have you watched any as an adult? Like, just seeing it come on. I know it was on FX or FXX for a while. Like, did you ever just like pop in and just be like, let me see what this is all about? Or were you just kind of like, it's kind of like Derek, like I don't have room in my life for getting into another animated show.
It just felt like it bypassed me, Like I felt like if I got into it, especially before streaming, right? Where I would be like, where do I start? How do I start? How do I get on board where it's episode 1? I would have to buy the DVDs. What if I buy the DVDs and I don't like it? Now I bought something I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I got into that situation. So the closest thing I got to knowing the Simpsons or getting Simpsons consumption was the Family Guy crossover.
Oh no, that's a terrible representation of the Simpsons.
We're stuck here, Peter, and we don't even know where we are.
Well, there's a sign. Huh. Guess we're in a town called Springfield.
Springfield, eh? What state?
I can't imagine we're allowed to say.
Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin are a great team.
A greater team than... keep going. Then something else?
Something else? I don't know what this is.
Okay, I'll do it. Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin are an even greater team than the Air Force. Hold steady, I got him in my sights. Woohoo! Yeah!
Yeah, we did it.
What's he doing here?
Well, we gotta carry him because he can't fly on his own. We let that other guy try, and look what happened. No!
Yikes.
Not a good one. I mean, it's novel, and it's fun. I often forget.
Novel and fun is a phrase for that, sure.
Yeah. When did
it was
that
more
happen?
Family Guy than Simpsons, I would assume, you would think, right?
Yeah, I think that was like it was in the 2010s, I think. Or maybe it was earlier than that, actually. I don't know. Somewhere between like 2008 and 2013 or something like that. Around that time period. I don't know exactly what year, but somewhere around then.
Oh, that's fun. We're going to have to talk about that at some point because I remember it like now that you've mentioned it, but I like often forget that it existed. Family Guy just did some wild stuff. I mean, I was
also way off. It's 2014. That was actually way later than I thought. I gave a big date range and it didn't even capture it, but yeah, but it's still 10 years ago. So,
and that's also deep into the time where like a lot of people are like Simpsons has completely fallen off. Yeah. Like a lot of people aren't watching or, saying like, it's not what it used to be kind of stuff. So, well, I'm glad that we could at least get you to watch a couple of episodes. I think that the episodes
these also aren't good introductions to the show. One of them I like a lot, but one out of the three I think is a really good one, but still not a great introduction to The Simpsons.
It's really not. I think one of them I actually really, really like. Yeah. Another one is okay, and then another one is like, I'm not a fan of this.
Yeah. One of these three is like genuinely one of my favorite episodes, but I still wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't give it to someone to like introduce them to the show. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we'll talk about that. Let's put Simpsons to the side for a few minutes, and let's just talk a real quick, brief history of the Attitude Era and a sprinkling of the NWO. So I know sometimes we have a little bit of a reputation for getting into brief histories that are only kind of tangentially related to what we talk about.
This is still the same scenario because the Simpsons Wrestling is not a wrestling game.
Okay, but we're going to fight about that because here's the thing. I do think that the reason the Simpsons Wrestling exists is directly tied into the popularity of wrestling at the time. Like,
sure.
It is undeniable that because wrestling is what it is in this era, that everybody wants to do something that is like somehow tying into wrestling.
Sure.
There's an epidemic affecting thousands of young Canadians, a condition scientists are calling the munchies. I'm World Wrestling Federation superstar Chris Jericho, and I've joined forces with Taco Bell to fight this hunger. You can join our tag team. By making a donation of only $3.99, you'll receive 3 Taco Supremes and a drink.
On the plains of Africa, one would find the following: the herbivore or plant eater, the carnivore or meat eater, and the boyardivore known as mankind.
Have a nice day.
He's never without his overstuffed beef ravioli and his call.
Beefy!
Unmistakable. Chef Boyardee overstuffed beef ravioli definitely feeds the need.
It's the perfect ravioli for all mankind.
Wow, the stinger.
Timmy, I'm from the Dream Come True Fantasy Foundation. You ready to wrestle?
You bet. Mom, Dad, it's really him. Hold on. Now I'm ready.
It looks so real.
Don't count on Sprite to do anything but quench your thirst.
When I'm in this ring, I'm in control. And when I make this ring, I'm still in control.
This is TrackPhone, nationwide prepaid cellular.
You are to be guests of my master, so bow down before your gracious host, the spirit of competition, the embodiment of victory, the eternal champion, Wrestler.
Welcome, heroes of Earth. You have been chosen to receive the most glorious of gifts, the opportunity to face me, the great wrestler, in a contest of strength and skill. For eons, I have scoured the cosmos, searching for the one adversary who could provide me with suitable sport. But lo, I have yet to find such a noble soul. Each creature, each race, more pitiful than the last.
Since when did Stone Cold become a judge?
Both sides waived their rights to an actual judge.
We did?
He's very big with the teen demographic. We'll get pickup on all the networks.
What about Justice?
It didn't do well with the focus groups.
Austin 316 says order in the court. Let's have opening arguments in the custody case of Dilbert versus the aliens, robots, cows, hillbillies, a billionaire, and 17 engineers.
And I'm sure a pro wrestler such as yourself will appreciate all the closet space, Hitman.
Ooh, this place has got old man stink.
Ooh. Oh, don't listen to him, sir. You've got an enchanting musk.
And you wouldn't even be the only wrestler in the neighborhood. The Shrieking Sheik lives just 3 doors away.
Hey, I'll take it.
And so, sure, we could talk about whether or not this game is an actual wrestling game, and I think the product they put out is not. And we'll talk about that when we get into the game, because I think we all kind of had that same thought about the game. But the truth of the matter is, it is marketed as Simpsons Wrestling.
Oh,
so
sure.
like if wrestling wasn't popular, or it was still like super niche, they probably would have just done something else, or maybe we would have gotten like an actual like side-scrolling fighter or something like that.
Or they call it Simpsons Brawl or something.
Yeah, for sure. So, but it is very important to kind of understand not even just like how popular wrestling was at this time, but also kind of the era that we're in, because it is a much different era than what we have gotten before in wrestling. And I think knowing that landscape and then knowing the game that we're going to talk about in an hour or so, I think really paints just how much this game misses the mark, right? Like it just truly, only thing that it is able to do is capitalize on the fact that it is Simpsons and wrestling, and it just kind of misses in so many other different ways. So Before we jump into that, though, Derek, since you have admitted to having not much knowledge about wrestling, I thought what would be fun is to kind of just start us off with a quick pop quiz of some of the most chaotic moments and just some of the different things that happen in this era, if you are up for it.
Sure.
Sweet. Well, we'll start off with an easy one. What does NWO, which is on Stik's shirt, stand for?
National Wrestling Order? New World Order.
There you go. We got there.
Why does it stand for New World? That sounds like... So it's just because they're drama queens, right? That's why it's called New World Order, like, because they want to sound really cool and intense.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean,
you nailed it in one. We'll talk a little bit about the NWO and kind of what it comes from, but it starts out as this storyline of these outsiders, right? Like the two wrestlers that kind of started off come from the WWE, they come into the WCW, and there's lots of questions about where does their allegiance actually lie? And then the NWO, the New World Order, is just kind of like we're going to bring about the New World Order of wrestling.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. Anything you would add to that, Stik?
Yeah, those two wrestlers, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, friends formerly known as Diesel and Razor Ramon of WWE, WWF at the time. They infiltrated and were part of what is considered the greatest heel turn in wrestling history.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get there in a minute. Wow, time has blessed us, by the way, with this.
Oh,
what a fantastic gift by God or whoever.
Pretty incredible.
We did it again. Somehow the Hulkster died the same week we're recording this episode.
Really incredible. Wild.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can I ask what the time period you're talking about? Like, what year is the New World Order happening?
So this is 1996.
Oh, yep. Okay. This is like almost late 90s. Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And the reason that the New World Order, and just so that you're aware, New World Order, WCW, Attitude Era, WWE, right? So like two different kind of components, but the way it interplays is like kind of important.
Okay.
So you got your first one. Second question. This is another easy one. What does Austin 3:16 say?
Is that different from John 3:16? Does he have his own Bible passage?
It is different from John 3:16. And it is his own Bible passage.
One could say, yeah.
Sorry, I have to ask a question to your question. I knew that John 3:16 was a thing. So does he have John 3:16 and also Austin 3:16, or have I always gotten it wrong and it's always just been Austin 3:16?
It's always been Austin 3:16.
Okay, well then I have even less of an idea of what any of this could possibly mean. Truly, I have no idea.
Austin 3:16, Derek, says, "I just whipped your ass."
Can you explain this to me? Why is that a Bible passage? It's
the greatest Bible passage.
That's not a riff on what actual John 3:16 says, I'm assuming. Like,
we'll talk about it.
There has to be a point A to point B here for how we got to this point.
There is, and it's actually it is a pretty important moment in this era. To be quite honest with you, So Austin 3:16 says, "I just whipped your ass." So another one. We're kind of shifting gears a little bit. Mankind, one of the personas of Mick Foley during the Attitude Era, was a creepy and masochistic, mentally disturbed wrestler with a partner puppet made from his own sock named...
Fuck. I do know. I remember knowing this information. Because I remember Mankind and I remember the puppet. I don't...
Sock?
Sock'em? Socky? Socket?
Oh, you're so close. You're so all around it. It's Mr. Sacco.
I brought one other visitor, another special guest. What the hell are you doing? Mr. Sacco! Say hello to Mr. Sacco. Mr. Sacco knows you've been feeling mighty bad, so he's gonna give your boo-boo a big kiss. You're gonna what? Hey, no, Mick, please, just leave. Mr. Sacco! Please leave, please.
Mr. Sacco.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Derek, I'm going to be honest with you. That wasn't even the question.
Oh, Jesus, what? Okay.
I just happened to pause there. Okay. But we'll count that as one. And you got close enough. We'll count that.
You don't have to count that. It's fine.
Mankind forms an unlikely tag team duo with a popular wrestler during this time. Who was that wrestler?
The Undertaker, because Mankind and the Undertaker kind of makes synergistic sense thematically. That's my guess.
That is a great guess. It is completely incorrect.
Okay.
He forms a tag team partnership with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Big Show, you come on out with The Undertaker, but The Rock doesn't want to fight. No, because The Rock's been fighting all night. The Rock wants you, Big Show, to pull your little black pants down.
Uh-oh.
Then he wants you to bend over. Then Undertaker, The Rock wants you to come out, and The Rock will admire all your little Mickey Mouse tattoos. And then...
Mickey Mouse? And then...
Rock has laid a challenge down to fight both The Undertaker and The Big Show, it sounds to me like, right here tonight.
Oh, I think he just wants the Big Show to pull down his little black tights and...
And then Big Show, as you're bent over, Undertaker, The Rock says, you take your 33-pound head, turn that sumbitch sideways, and stick it straight up Big Show's ass.
Now that's a visual for you. Uh-oh. What is... It's Mankind. Mankind is up and moving around after the assault earlier by The Undertaker and The Big Show.
The Rock, Mankind was back there, and I gotta admit, I liked your comments about the tattoos and the head up the candy ass. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do this alone. You see, Rock, I know you don't like me, and after last year's Royal Rumble, for a long time, I didn't like you. But I know what The Rock can do inside that ring. You know what Mankind can do inside that ring. And Mankind was talking to the people, and the people want Mankind as The Rock's partner.
What? Wow.
The people need Mankind as The Rock's partner. And tonight in Boston, Massachusetts, Mankind would like to be The Rock's partner.
Never heard of that guy. No, who's that?
You have this pairing of probably like the least charismatic wrestler known to man. Although Mankind, I will not besmirch his name, is one of my favorites. Like, hands down. I don't know what your thoughts are, Stik, on Mankind. But
one of the greatest of all time, man.
Yeah, Mick Foley, man, he's a good one. But yeah, so they get this pairing of charisma, no charisma, and it works. I mean, it really, really works. And for bonus points, Derek, what was their tag team name?
Oh, their tag team name? Rock and Mankind. It can't be that clever, is what I'm learning. Rockman, Man and Rock. I don't know, actually. There's not a good pun.
Remember the setup that we had just a few seconds ago with Mr. Sacco? I'll give you that hint.
Mr. Rocco? Like what? Mr. Man Rocco? This is their team? This is their duo name, is what you're saying? Like their team name?
Mm-hmm. Tag team name.
Tag team name? The Rock and Mr. Sacco?
You're so close. So close. It is the Rock and Sock connection.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good,
right?
Pretty good.
Like, man, wrestling's so fun.
Rock'em Sock'em. Why did they go with Rock'em Sock'em? That's probably too old school cutesy, probably for them, actually, for the late 90s.
I'll be honest. I honestly had forgotten like what their name was until researching this. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect. Like, I don't know what else I would have went with.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were a fun one. I got 2 questions left for you, Derek.
Okay.
and then we can get into the brief history. Fill in the blank. You have 4 blank. So blank, 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 blank. And that's the bottom line because blank, 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 blank.
Can you say that again?
And that's the bottom line because...
This is not ringing a bell for me whatsoever. And that's the bottom line because... Oh, yeah. Give me a hint. What's the hint?
If I did this, would that mean anything to you?
That seems like some sort of innuendo thing, and I don't know what it is. So, no, this is truly like not even ringing a bell. Who said it? Is there who's the person who said it?
Well, that's the answer. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
I've never heard him say that before.
That's shocking to me, Derek.
I probably did it when I was like 10 and I don't remember, you know. That's not a thing that I internalized. That's so funny. Yeah, none of that rings a bell. Never would have gotten that in a million years.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are coming to the close for our pop quiz round, and I think this is the easiest one of them all.
Yeah, sure.
So we're about to talk about the Attitude Era, and the Attitude Era is all about heightened and adult drama with storylines playing inside and outside the ring, a lot of them happening outside the ring, and many storylines revolved around Vince McMahon and his family.
Great guy, I've heard. He's just a wonderful person.
He's so great.
Yep.
Which of the following were not things that happened involving the McMahon family during the Attitude Era? You're going to be all over this one, Derek.
Oh my God. If you say so.
Okay. A, Vince McMahon, real life owner of the WWE at the time and frequent on-screen personality during the Attitude Era, was to, quote, die on air when the limo he enters immediately explodes. A memorial service is planned to air, but it never happens. The storyline is quickly derailed after Vince has to appear on camera for a tribute episode dedicated to Chris Benoit, a wrestler who had recently died, which aired prior to the WWE learning that Benoit had actually murdered his wife and son before taking his own life.
God. I'm assuming that's real.
That is the longest answer ever. Imagine you're looking at a Scantron. It's like, all right, it can't be that one. That's way too long.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all kind of this long. Let's be honest. Okay. There's a lot that happens during the Attitude Era. B, Stephanie McMahon. Vince's real-life daughter is set to have a, quote, wedding to wrestler Test, only to learn that she was drugged by wrestler Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who took her to a Vegas drive-thru chapel and married her. Triple H then proceeds to intimate on air that he had sexually assaulted her. This was all while her real-life father and mother, our current Secretary of State, or sorry, not Secretary of State, Secretary of Education, Linda
these
McMahon.
Days.
It doesn't matter. While our current Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, were both in the ring with her.
So I don't know if this is true or not, but either way, in the question in the answer that you're providing, are you saying that like the fictional version of Vince McMahon's daughter, was drugged, or in real life she was drugged and that actually happened?
Fictional.
Okay.
Fictional.
This stuff, because that shit's so confusing. Okay. So
yes.
The fictional, that is just the storyline they concocted, which is still pretty fucked up that they would concoct that storyline.
And here's the thing, Derek. All of these people are the actual people.
Right.
The fictional Stephanie McMahon
That's
is
what
Stephanie
makes it
McMahon. Yeah.
so weird and complicated, because I know that they're real people playing themselves, but like fictionalized versions of themselves, but also were awful in real life. So like, I don't know. Keep going.
Yep. C. So we have the first one, Vince McMahon storyline where he is supposed to die. B, Stephanie McMahon is drugged and married by Hunter Hearst Helmsley. C, Stephanie McMahon, Vince's real-life daughter, is kidnapped by The Undertaker in the Ministry of Darkness. During Raw, the Ministry brings out Stephanie, who's been crucified to The Undertaker's symbol, to the ring where Paul Bearer officiates a wedding ceremony between Taker and Stephanie. Two wrestlers try to break in, Shamrock and The Big Show, but no one can make it past the Ministry's defenses. That is until glass shatters, and none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, noted enemy of Vince McMahon, comes to Stephanie's rescue.
What's with them trying to marry Vince McMahon's daughter? Like,
bro, he's a creep. That's what it is.
Jesus Christ. Also, Ministry of Darkness is some like Harry Potter shit. Like, what is this?
Listen,
Well, without the transphobia, though.
Right.
Without the transphobia.
That's the one thing Vince McMahon didn't do that was bad. It's like, let's be transphobic.
I'm trying to think, and I don't know if I know if he was or not, to be quite honest, but yeah, Ministry of Darkness, corny name, but involved in kidnapping Stephanie McMahon and crucifying her, essentially.
Cool.
And then finally, D, Linda McMahon, Vince's real-life wife, was made part of the story when it was revealed Vince and WWE superstar Trish Stratus were having an affair. But that's not the extent of Vince's villainy in that moment. It is further revealed that Vince and Trish had been drugging Linda into a near comatose state so that their affair could continue, leading to Vince making out with Trish Stratus in front of his wife in a wheelchair.
I'm guessing all of these things did happen, just didn't happen in this era is probably what it is.
You don't know.
For some reason, my gut is telling me the wife wheelchair one didn't happen in this era because it almost feels too straightforward, like compared to all the other ones you just described to me. That feels like something that maybe happened earlier, and then eventually the victimization of his daughter started happening in the Attitude Era. That is the timeline I'm concocting in my head. So I'm going to say D did not happen in the Attitude Era.
Unfortunately, Derek, D did happen in the Attitude Era. It was actually A, which did happen.
I already forgot what A was now.
That was Chris Benoit, Vince's fake death.
Okay.
Yeah, that did happen, but it happened later. That was in 2007, I think.
Yes, I'm around there.
Gotcha.
Which would have been, I think, Ruthless Aggression era.
Yep.
So.
What are these names?
But yeah, all of those are real storylines, Derek.
Yeah, cool. Wrestling's great.
And if you think those are bad, think about the ones that didn't make it. Because there's one where he wanted his daughter, yet again, to be in an incestual relationship.
With whom?
Wasn't...
I believe it was himself. I believe
it was with himself.
Okay,
where, there was going to be a storyline where he impregnates her.
Normal guy.
Oh yeah,
great guy.
Just a regular guy.
Just a regular dude.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I hope that at least paints somewhat of a picture of the Attitude Era. It was raucous, raunchy, and rebellious, with storylines that would push the envelope often a little too far, that propelled the WWE's growth and led them to becoming the most dominant player in wrestling. But before that happens, there's actually a moment in time where the WWE struggles. And this is all well documented in several places. I've already mentioned the Mr. McMahon documentary. I mean, there's books about this. This is all just knowledge that is out there. So I'm not going to I don't think we need to spend too much time on it, right? Because if you want to find out more information about this, there's great documentaries out there you can go watch. But essentially, the WWE's ratings start to kind of falter. And their competitor, their direct competitor, WCW, comes in. God, there's so many W's. It's so hard to say. All of them in quick succession. The WCW comes in, and they actually start to poach a number of wrestlers from the WWE. And we already mentioned two of them, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. They come into the WCW as the outsiders, right? And they concoct this storyline where there's this kind of blurring of the lines, right? Now, wait a second. Everybody's kind of if you're watching wrestling during this time, chances are you're checking in on both WCW and WWE. I was. I distinctly remember my dad flipping channels back and forth between Nitro and Raw. So it is something that you're going to just know what's happening, right, between one and the other. And so what the WCW does is they kind of start blurring this line between are these guys actually here working for us, or are they still working for the WWE? They don't explicitly say that, but they kind of intimated that, right? So you have this kind of weird situation where it's what's going on? Who are these guys actually?
What are you talking about?
Look here.
Well, what the hell?
Wait a minute.
Somebody give me a mic. Give me a mic. What's with this?
Wait, we need security here. I have no idea.
Hey.
Wait a minute. I can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
You people.
What's with him here?
You know who I am.
but you don't know why I'm here.
Are we going to get security here?
Where is billionaire Ted? Where is the Nacho Man? That punk can't even get in the building. Me, I go wherever I want, whenever I want.
Listen, we need to get somebody to help.
When that weatherman wannabe comes out here later tonight, I got a challenge for him, for billionaire Ted, for the Nacho Man, and for anybody else in WCW. Hey, you want to go to war? You want a war? You're going to get one.
That leads to the greatest heel turn. Do you know what a heel turn is?
Yes, I know what a heel turn is. Yeah, I know what a face heel face turns are. Yeah.
Perfect. So that leads to the greatest heel turn in wrestling history. Hulk Hogan makes his debut as Hollywood Hulk Hogan and the third man, member of the NWO at Bash at the Beach in 1996.
And then there was one, and it was Sting, and he didn't look too good.
Hulkamania! Hulk Hogan is here! Hulk Hogan's here! Hulk Hogan is in the building!
You damn right he is!
Go get him, Hulkster!
Yeah, but whose side is he on?
What are you talking about?
Whose side is he on?
What are you talking about?
Yes, sir!
Get him, Hogan! Go get him, baby!
Come on and get some of this now!
Who's bad now, boys?
Hulk Hogan arrived. Hulk!
What is he doing?
My God!
Is he the third man?
He's the third man!
What the hell is going on here?
Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW! He is the third man!
Look at
this picture!
Oh my God!
What the hell is going on?
Oh my God!
Are you kidding me?
Probably the lowest shot ever given to professional wrestling.
Stik, did you watch that live when that happened?
I did not watch it live, but when you catch the reruns of certain things, and they WCW was very ahead of its time by showing you what happened on pay-per-views, like if you couldn't buy it or whatever, because they used to be expensive, boy.
Oh yeah.
But they would show you on the following Monday night what happened, and so when because there's no internet, you're not able to look it up really at that time, so you had to really catch it later. So when you saw it and you're like, there's no way. Like, you got to understand, in the 80s, Hulk Hogan was the guy. He was the face of wrestling. And, there was a time where, he had his moment in the sun from like 80 to probably like 90 something, 90s. And then, his star started to fade. So he went to WCW. And even during that time, he was getting booed sometimes because people were kind of tired of the whole rah, eat your vitamin, the spiel that he used to give.
Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, be true to yourself, true to your country, be a real American.
So there was no way anyone would have ever thought that this guy would be the guy that would turn his back on, WCW or the organization. So yeah, when I saw it, I was like, this is different. This is, it was, it could make you mad, but it was like, this is new, this is fresh, this is something that I don't think we've ever seen before, and it excited me even more.
Fascinating.
It was like, it's truly, it's stuff out of comic books, right? Like, you have the couple of issues where Superman's a bad example. Name your character, Iron Man, whatever, like turns to the bad side, right?
Yeah.
And
Hal Jordan killing decimating planets, like committing genocide, basically, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. Totally.
It's like that, right? And Stik, you laid it out perfectly. Like, Hulk Hogan was like the face of wrestling, and when I say the face, I mean it both as like the face, like known for wrestling, and also the face, like the good guy. He had never had a heel turn up until that moment. And so WCW like steals Hogan and turns him heel, which is like unheard of. It's so. I would invite you to even like maybe watch like just a clip of like him coming down to the ring in that moment. People are throwing things into the ring. They're like so mad that this is happening. Like you have trash. It's like it gets so much heat in that moment. And it's really spectacular to kind of look back at because again, this kicks off, I think, what becomes wrestling as we know it today, but also wrestling as we knew it then, of just kind of like this blurring of the lines, right? Like this, what's real, what's not. And I think that is a huge part of what kind of keeps wrestling going.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And it might have been a little bit before this, but WCW basically starts eating the WWE's lunch for like a significant period of time. I think it's like 84 weeks or something. It's like a year and a half. They talk about it in the Mr. McMahon documentary where like Monday Night Nitro, and Stik mentioned this before, you had both products on at the same time. Like Nitro was going, Raw was going, like at the exact same time slot, which is like kind of crazy when you think about it. Cause it's like, if you're WCW, like you're kind of really calling your shot, right? Like to put your product up against the WWE. And like I said, they really start overtaking the WWE in ratings at that time. They start to expand the NWO, bringing in Eric Bischoff, executive producer and senior VP and the on-screen general manager of the WCW, who kind of portrays this boss turned evil character, right? Like he joins the NWO. He's no longer like with the organization, and the NWO like grows into something. And honestly, it kind of like grows like too big at certain points. Like they split into like multiple factions. It gets really complicated. But at this point in time, you have this kind of outsiders organization, NWO, versus like the WCW, and then they bring in like the general manager, right? So it's like bad boss, right, is kind of like one of your villains that you start kind of getting here. And like the other thing that I think is really important is that these guys, like the NWO, are essentially like they're the bad guys, but they're so fucking popular. Like I know you have to remember, Derek, kids like wearing NWO shirts like all around school.
Oh yeah, I never knew what they meant, but I knew that they were something wrestling related to.
Yeah,
totally.
And like they're this like portrayed as this like anti-authority group actively working against the WCW to take over. They're edgier, they're rougher, they're kind of like fashioned as like a street gang with like world domination as like their kind of, not actual world domination, but you know what I mean, as like their kind of aims.
And Dark Hulk is like part of New World Order, right?
Dark Hulk.
No, but that's exactly what it is. That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Dark Hulk is part of it. He's known as Hollywood Hulk Hogan during this time.
I should have called him Dark Hulk, but sure.
Well, with his track record, maybe let's not use dark or anything like that. Let's not.
You know what?
Let's not do that. He probably wouldn't even have liked that.
You know what? You're right. Let's just trash Dark Hulk. But yeah, so they're the bad guys, right? Like during this era, but they are what is drawing attention, right? And they kind of realize that like edgier product, but also like, you know, grittiness and like having the bad guys like really be on top some of the times is something that sells and is really important. And so kind of shifting gears, Stik, I got a pop quiz question for you. Do you remember what happened on June 23rd, 1996?
Ooh, June 23rd, 1996. So, is that King of the Ring?
Uh-huh. That's King of the Ring.
Stone Cold Steve Austin wins King of the Ring against Jake the Snake Roberts.
The winner of this matchup will be the 1996 King of the Ring.
Austin fighting with 16 stitches in his mouth. Jake the Snake inevitably gotta have busted or broken ribs. Both men are battered and bruised, but Jake Roberts is obviously in tremendous pain. I don't think Jake should even come out here.
Jake's at a severe disadvantage, and Steve Austin is going exactly for what's injured those ribs. And when you have broken ribs like that, you can't breathe. Your whole body doesn't function right. And when you got old, brittle, broken up ribs like that as it is, Jake the Snake Roberts, his days are done.
The physical dissection of Jake Roberts is ongoing by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So when we start talking about the Attitude Era, right? Like I mentioned, Attitude Era is WWE, NWO is WCW. There's a lot of moments that people will point at as like what is the actual start of the Attitude Era. I don't know if you have any kind of like your own opinions on this, Stik. Do you have like a pinpoint moment that you would point to as like the start of Attitude Era?
I think people point to this moment because it's kind of like the birth of Stone Cold's character. I think I kind of point to when he wins the championship, but I'm sure we'll get to that point. But yeah, I would say between those two, those moments.
Yeah. So what happens here, Derek, is you have a basically like a tournament, right? It's called King of the Ring. And before it's set to happen, there was actually a storyline where Hunter Hearst Helmsley was originally supposed to be the winner of King of the Ring. But something happens a little bit before that where a kind of cardinal rule of wrestling is broken at a non-televised match. They essentially break kayfabe, and I can't remember who the wrestler was.
So Triple H was part of a backstage group called The Click. So that consisted of Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac, Sean Waltman. And the people involved with Triple H, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Shawn Michaels? Yeah. And what happened was, I think it was between Scott and Shawn Michaels. They had a match. The match happened. But in those days, again, there's no internet. So what you see in the ring is supposed to what you're supposed to believe. But those guys, Triple H and Kevin Nash, came to the ring and then they all hugged in the ring. It was at a house show, and house shows aren't typically televised. However, someone snuck a camera in there, a video camera, and recorded the moment, and somehow that got out. And so that's what is known as the curtain call. And basically that just means that was Scott Hall's curtain call. He's about to leave, but the boys wanted to send him off, because that's their friend. Well, Vince did not like that at all.
Yeah, breaking kayfabe is like a cardinal sin in wrestling. Like have to
makes sense.
You have to stick to your character, right? Like in front of you don't want people to know that like you're actually friends with these guys, because otherwise like you can and people know, right? Like people know that wrestling is scripted, but like it's kind of like going to a movie and then just like all of a sudden seeing like, I don't know, Spider-Man and Green Goblin hugging in the middle of it and then going back to fighting.
Or like going to a play, like that they're actors on stage, but you don't. But like that's why it's a faux pas to like be able to see backstage or make yourself too visible backstage. Like it's distracting for the audience to have that fourth wall removed unintentionally. Like it takes you out of it. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, and like basically what ends up happening is Vince punishes Triple H for that moment and says he's not going to actually win King of the Ring. And he goes to one Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold Steve Austin is kind of selected as the person who is going to win King of the Ring. And so, like I said, it's like this tournament structure. And so there's multiple different matches. And it comes down to Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Jake the Snake Roberts. This is one of the most pivotal moments of the Attitude Era because it basically propels Stone Cold to a household name. His victory over Jake the Snake. So Jake the Snake has he quotes Bible verses and stuff like that. He's like,
forgive me, Father, for what I'm thinking. You see, you've told me, Father, that you let the light shine, Jake. I'll take care of the rest. Lord, I've been trying to do the very best I can, standing out and saying what I believe in, trying to show somebody else the right way to live. Mankind, people like you are slow to learn. Oh, there's hope. There's hope for us all. The thing is, mankind, how quickly will you learn? This Sunday, in your house, you get a quick lesson. It's a hard lesson. Lessons sometimes are a little too much to take. You taught me your lesson. Now you get mine in your house this Sunday.
And at the end of the match, Stone Cold gives a speech where he says,
You sit there and you thump your Bible and you say your prayers and it didn't get you anywhere. Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Okay, so there is a connection, I see.
There is a connection to John 3:16.
Interesting.
And that is not like the moment that like is definitive for the Attitude Era, but like that is a moment where it's like, okay, we're taking on something that is like a different tone, right? Like,
right.
And Stone Cold, like, I think that moment and his victory and his bravado and just his attitude is like, it is indicative of what this era is going to come. He is not really like cutting the mold of past like faces or heroes. Instead, what Stone Cold ends up becoming is more of this kind of like salt of the earth, beer drinking, cursing, everyman type of character. And what does every man want to do? Every man wants to beat the shit out of his boss.
Sure. True.
Every
kind of
day.
nailed that. Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is as Stone Cold kind of rises to popularity, and Stik, feel free to like stop me if you're like, we got to talk about this moment. I know you mentioned him winning the championship. He rises to popularity and he ends up getting paired up with Mr. McMahon, which becomes the on-screen persona for Vince McMahon, right? So I want you to remember what we had talked about with like the WCW. WCW, NWO brings in Eric Bischoff. He's kind of like the boss character. WWE kind of does the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily rip off the WCW. They kind of take the same concept and run with it, but they kind of do it better. And they have better, I would say, players in place. I think Vince is probably better at selling the evil boss figure and like the annoying boss figure and like the villainous boss figure than Eric Bischoff was. And yeah, you get this kind of like coming together of, again, salt of the earth, Steve Austin, everyman character, just coming after his boss day in, day out on Monday Night Raw. And that is like one of the moments that I think you start seeing this shift in what they're actually doing in the product.
Right. Interesting.
So I guess that means, Vince, I only got one little thing to do. And what I want you to do is to look up at that screen. Take that off. I want Vince's picture on the screen. Look up at the screen, Vince. Because your eyes are fixing to pop out of the front of your head.
No! Come on, Steve.
If you want Vince's eyes to pop out of the front of his head, give me a hell yeah.
Steve, take it easy now. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Oh, my. It's a toy. What? It's a toy. Austin was armed with a toy. That is not funny.
You gotta remember, Vince, it wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin that screwed Vince McMahon, but it was Vince McMahon that screwed Vince McMahon. I think you got a little problem there, and I think we got another t-shirt on the way, and I think that t-shirt might just say, McMahon 316 says I just pissed my pants.
Oh, no. Oh, man, how humiliating, how degrading. Oh, wait, look out. Austin got McMahon again. This is the most humiliating, degrading night in Vince McMahon's life. The unemployed rattlesnake has struck. He's fired. He's not supposed to even be here. Look at this for him trousers. He's the toughest unemployed SOB in America.
One of the things you got to remember too is just, and I will say that to me, I do think that they looked over at WCW. They were getting their ass kicked in the ratings every week, like you said, for like 80 plus weeks. So I think they did pull from that. I think what you got to remember too is two things. One, Vince was a commentator for a long time. So people just thought he was a commentator. No one up until that point knew that he was the owner of the company.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
So that was the thing. No one knew. And so I forgot how it got pointed out that he was the owner. But once it became known that he was the owner, he had to be more of that, that on-screen character. I don't think he ever wanted to really be like in the ring as much. But once the character of Stone Cold, kind of created and started rising in popularity, for as horrible as the person he is, he knew that foil worked well, and how over on WCW, they were great guys, but they were a little bit older. Stone Cold was still kind of young and kind of still had that freshness to him. So putting him against him, and like you said, boss versus the everyday working man that just wants to have a beer and do his job and have a good time against the guys trying to hold him down. It was the perfect match, and I think people call it like the greatest rivalry in wrestling history because it's so relatable. As kids, we're just like, oh man, he's just so cool. He's so badass or whatever. But as an adult, you're like, this is actually what I want to do every day I go into work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's clever.
And it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, right? Because, as we know, Vince is kind of a piece of shit. And he plays that up, right? Like, and they go into this in the Mr. McMahon documentary of like, what's Vince? What's the character? Whatever. But like, it is like part of his persona, right? And like that's why you get like these storylines, like so much of these like hypersexualized storylines involving him, and then years later you have all of these horrid sexual allegations that come out about Vince McMahon. Like it's just kind of who the guy is.
Yeah.
And so anyway, you get all of these moments, right, where it's not even just like, it's not like Stone Cold and Vince are like wrestling every day. These are things that are happening both in and out of the ring. And there's a lot of like moments that they script where Stone Cold just does some just outrageous things that you would never expect. And so I got a list here. I'll go over some of them.
Oh boy.
So first one, he fills one of Vince McMahon's Corvettes with cement.
McMahon's prized Corvette, one of his collection, is being destroyed by the rattlesnake. No!
It's like cartoon pranks. Like that's so silly.
Some of them are cartoony. Some of them are a little weirder, but one of them, you've probably seen this before. He drives a beer truck to the ring and sprays members of the corporation. That's kind of like it's the corporation, like you can figure it out, which includes The Rock, with a beer hose.
I'll tell you what, hey, Stone Cold Jabroni, you come out here and you make your idle threats like you're the great one, but obviously you're not. So The Rock says you take that truck and drive it right back down Know Your Role Boulevard. You drive it right back to Jabroni Drive and you check your candy.
Wait a minute! Stone Cold! It's beer! Stone Cold with a beer bag! Beer bag on the corporation! Stone Cold! Get a corporation a beer bag! You gotta be kidding me! Any time for Austin!
That just sounds like a party. Like
It's one of the best moments. I don't even remember what that happened on. I think it was just Raw, but it was like
it was a Raw. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was so sick. Then and I'm going to send you some pictures for some of these ones just in the chat.
Oh boy.
He dresses as a doctor to infiltrate a hospital where Vince is being treated for various injuries and just beats the shit out of Vince in the hospital.
Looks just fine to me. How about you, doctor?
Oh, I'll take it from here, nurse.
That is so silly.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Silly guys
Me too.
being silly.
I don't remember what the setup for this one was, but at one point he is in the ring and he is whipping Vince's bare ass with his belt.
I don't have all night, damn it. Kiss my ass and it's over between us. Now, damn it, do just like every one of these people would do. Pucker up and kiss my ass.
Oh, I think he's going to lose his lunch. Here comes oh my God! Oh my gosh! Stone Cold! What is this? Stone Cold's wearing Mr. McMahon's beer ass out with that leather belt!
And I'm sure many things were awakened for many people at that time.
Yeah. It's also one of those things where you're just like, I mean, again, Vince is like helping with these storylines. So like he was just cool with having his ass out in the ring.
Yeah, Vince had a thing about people kissing his ass, but like literally, like not like he had the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club for a while. So
definitely
that was just a thing.
Definitely get some writer's barely disguised fetish vibes from all of these things, honestly.
I mean, a lot of this is that, I really think, when like Vince is involved. Like, it's wild. Another one, he drives a four-wheeler on top of Vince's limo with Vince inside of it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I think at one point he holds Vince at gunpoint and then pulls the trigger, and it's one of those toy guns that just say bang.
Oh, so he's also the Joker, it sounds like. Okay.
A little bit. And then he's also arrested at one point for assaulting Vince. And I think that's actually pretty early on.
And that fictionally arrested. He's not actually arrested for assault.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although, let me tell you, as a kid, like, I didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were like this, Stik, like watching this. Some of the times I was like, oh man, they just arrested Stone Cold. I guess he's going to jail now.
Listen, it became hard to realize what was real and what was not. Yeah, I think that happened. I want to say that happened after he lost a first blood match against Kane. I want to say that's what happened. And Stone Cold felt like he was robbed, so he came down to the ring and beat the shit out of Vince. And then he got arrested, and then he ended up winning the title back later that night.
Just wild stuff. Like, it is just wild stuff. Yeah, I think my favorite of these moments, I'm with you, Stik, the hospital gown, like, moment is just... It's too good. And like when you watch that clip back, because Vince has his like leg wrapped up in, it looks like he has a broken leg, and like Stone Cold is able to just like actually like really hammer on it, like not necessarily pull punches as he would like if he was hitting another part of his body. So you see him just like making contact, right? Like with that leg. It's cinema. Like it's pure cinema. Like it's just great.
It's fantastic. I think just once you hear that, I'll take it from here, Nurse. Once he says that, and then he hits him with that bedpan, and you hear the bedpan bounce right off his head, bro, it's the most funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. We just actually watched it recently.
It's just funny, like y'all describing this. It's like I feel like I watch these on like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, like sitcoms. Like it feels like it's just like made for children. Like it's so funny.
I mean, it in a way, like,
and I don't mean that in like I don't mean that derogatory. It's just like it's just so cartoonish. Like it's just so funny how cartoonish it is.
Well, I think the thing that makes it and like no, you're totally right. Like I think the thing that makes it a little bit more of next level again is like it's the blurring of the lines and it's real people, right? The other thing is like at this era, I feel like there's more blood in wrestling than like there's ever been before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. This is like the era where they like really start to like amp up like Hell in the Cell match, like hardcore matches, kind of no rules matches and stuff like that. And you get like bloody wrestlers getting hurt a lot. There's a really famous moment where it's Undertaker versus Mankind at Hell in the Cell where Undertaker literally throws Mankind, 18 feet off of the top of the Hell in a Cell match into the announcer's table, and you hear Jim Ross just screaming, "My God, he's killed him, he's dead."
My God, don't get him over here where we are. What's going to happen here? Undertaker fighting back. He's fighting back. They're right above us, folks, and I don't like it a damn bit.
Oh, my God.
Look out. If this match has ended, we apologize.
I have never. Why do you apologize for that?
Well,
that was the
fans.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, fine, but people were expecting a Hell in a Cell match.
Look!
And look at him.
You're kidding me.
How in the hell is he standing?
Oh my God!
And look at this. He's got a smile on his face. For God's sakes! Are you kidding me? He wants to go back up. Mankind is going back up.
No way!
And so is the Undertaker.
No way! How can he climb? How can his body? Oh my God, the Undertaker's got the chair.
This is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing here. Oh, a headbutt by the Undertaker and a right hand. Now if
he throws him up on the other side, there's... Oh!
Good God! Good God!
That's it, he's dead.
Well, somebody stop the damn match! Enough's enough!
Everything you heard from me was real because I thought he actually was dead. I didn't say how a human being could survive that. I was almost thinking in my head, why do we sanction this?
He wasn't like making that up for effect. He was like really concerned that he might have died in that moment.
Wow.
And so like that's like part of this too. Like we're focusing a lot on like some of the like stuff with like Stone Cold, but like there's a lot of other stuff going on. Again, we talked about some of the storylines that are just like really, really adult, right? Like drugging two people.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It is very cartoonish, but it is very over the top, and to a point where it's like, I think the other piece is like it's real people doing it. That's the other aspect of it.
Yeah, sure.
Before we move on from Stone Cold, is there anything else you want to mention about him, Stik?
I think you can't really talk about Stone Cold without mentioning what many consider one of the greatest greatest matches of all time, really WrestleMania matches as well, and it's also the double turn, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, and we're talking about bleeding. In that match, Bret Hart came in as the face. Stone Cold was the heel. Despite the popularity of what his character was, he was still the heel character. But in that match, Bret Hart made him bleed and locked him into what is known as the sharpshooter. That's Bret Hart's submission hold. Bret Hart had that locked in on him for I want to say 5 to 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever. But Stone Cold never gave up. And there's an image of him fighting it off and the blood just flowing down his face. And for whatever reason, the crowd resonated with that. And by the end of that match, the crowd was booing Bret Hart and they were, cheering Stone Cold. And really, that's probably really where the Stone Cold character that's where it really took off. Because now we're allowed to cheer this guy. We want to put all our money, our cheers behind him because he doesn't give up even in the face of adversity. So you really can't tell any Stone Cold story without talking about that match for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it is important to note that Stone Cold begins as a heel, right? He doesn't start as I kind of set it up as if he just comes in and starts beating Vince up and stuff like that, but he really starts as the bad guy, as a heel character. And you're right, the match with him and Bret Hart is a lot of people's favorite match, right? That is a lot of people's if you ask them what their favorite wrestling match is, they'll name that match, and it's a great match. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I sent a picture in our chat. You can see what Stik was talking about. There's blood in the pooled in the ring and on Stone Cold's head while he is in the sharpshooter. It's just wild stuff. It's again, there's more blood, more violence in this era than I think had ever really been done before. And it's a weird thing to say because we're talking about wrestling, right? Of course there's violence, but it's just to another level.
Yeah. Is that blood in that picture, is that all fake blood, or is some of that real? Is he actually hurt?
No, that's real. So
holy shit.
Especially back here in this era, there's something called blading. And so a lot of wrestlers would keep a just small razor blade on them in the ring. And whenever the moment called for it, they would, out of camera's view, dab it a couple of times, and then that would cause the blood to go through.
Without it being an actual injury, but it looks worse than it is. That's, that totally makes sense.
A little bit of blood goes a long way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so.
It's just funny coming from the theater world of soft boys just using the corn syrup and blood pellets and stuff, and then it's these guys are no, I've literally got the prop in my body, I'm just gonna use it right now. Here we go, self-producing it.
Yeah. Stik, who was your favorite superstar during this era?
Oh man, from WWE, Stone Cold was my guy. I don't think you can really talk about Stone Cold without talking about The Rock. So of course The Rock. I would be remiss to not talk about WWE's version of the NWO, D-Generation X. Triple H,
D-Generation X.
Yeah, Triple H, X-Pac. I
remember kids all the time doing cross hand motion at their crotch and saying suck it, and never understood. I knew they were telling me to suck their dick, but I never understood why every kid was doing that. I didn't understand that. So it comes from, and I figured it came from wrestling, but it comes from D-Generation X. That was their thing.
Yep. DX, man. DX caused a lot of kids to get put in to miss recess. I'll say that. I will say that for a fact. But they also had cool gear.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
It's all the dots are finally connecting. It took 30 years, but I'm finally understanding now.
Yeah. But yeah, just a lot of those guys, and then some of the later guys, man, when you get into tag team stuff, the Hardys and Edge and Christian, the Brood. Remember the Brood, Gangrel, Edge, and Christian, when they had they were the fake vampires, and they had the sweet ass theme song where they rose from the ground with the fire.
hold on. Okay, first of all, it's a group called The Brood, which is like such a comic booky ass name. They're vampires that come from the ground. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And during after matches, they would spill fake blood on people.
I love it. I think I finally understand how people feel when I like describe Riverdale plots to them.
I mean, listen, Derek, that is like my whole thing is like, if you like Riverdale, you would love wrestling. Like without a doubt. And I think like, especially during this era, because like you do get like, I don't think like you don't get much more like this wacky stuff, right? Like Stik at this point in time. Or like, sorry, you don't get like Attitude Era like plot lines today.
Not when you really look back at the Attitude, it's very campy. Like it's a lot of stuff now is like based in kind of like realism. Like it's more based in realism. The stories are a little bit tighter. They're more. It's like when you watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch in the 90s 2000s, and then you watch Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. That's what it feels like. It's like campy and then like real serious. They're both great in their own way, but it's a definite difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. I think people kind of miss the fact that like wrestling is campy, and it's honestly, it's kind of intended to be some of the times. Like it's not out of like accident that like there's stuff that is like super corny and stuff like that. There is a delicate balance to the stuff they do of like having the vampires that come out of the ground, but then having a dude who like, you know, spanks his boss in the middle of the ring. Like it's like two sides that they have to like, that they're able to balance. And it's really fascinating. And you mentioned Stik. Yeah. The other important superstar to kind of emerge during this era is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who again, like it's weird how like they try to set up these guys in ways that they think is going to work. And then it kind of flips and like, because The Rock actually starts as a face. Like he's intended to come in as a face, but he just starts generating a ton of heat early on. And so he quickly shifts to being a heel. And The Rock has a ton of feuds during this time, including some with Stone Cold. And then eventually he like I mentioned, he becomes a member of the corporation and then kind of goes against the corporation. And then he has a face turn as well.
Shane McMahon, after every single one of them had a shot at The Rock, got that police nightstick in his throat. And now Helmsley with a free shot right to The Rock's head, and the boss man has come to get him some.
Hear me out. Shane McMahon says your ass is fired.
They wanted to be where The Rock was in the catbird seat in the corporation to begin with. No more than a gang assault here on The Rock. 30 seconds ago, these guys would have all said they were his friend, and then just stabbed him in the back.
Shane, The Rock says if you don't have enough sugar in that sack of testicles, then tonight you will come down and face the great one on one and make your monkey ass famous.
What a challenge there.
You want me, Rock? You got it tonight. Me and you, we're going at it.
What? Shane McMahon and The Rock. He took it.
You want The Rock? You got The Rock. If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
I'll tell you what, that is a shocker.
And he becomes like a sensation due to his kind of over-the-top personality. That's kind of the thing, right? Is like him and Stone Cold. Like if you ask anybody who two of the greatest wrestlers of all time are, there's a good chance you're going to get Stone Cold and The Rock as 1A and 1B. Like,
sure,
pick your whoever you want as the A and B. Like, it doesn't. They're kind of interchangeable. Yeah. And even as a heel, his like popularity grows significantly, and he becomes so popular that the WWE introduces a new programming product, SmackDown, based on one of his catchphrases.
Okay, I know SmackDown. I didn't realize that's where it came from. That's interesting. Because there's a lot of video games. There's a lot of SmackDown video games, aren't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I played. I played like a couple of wrestling games. I remember. I just don't remember what they're called, but I'm pretty sure one of them was one of the SmackDown games.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. So The Rock, I mean, he is like a big over-the-top personality, and he is kind of known for, I mean, he's really great on mic. Like, he has a lot of catchphrases. I just got a list of some of his catchphrases.
You smell what The Rock is cooking.
You got one.
Okay, Derek, I see you.
Yeah. Well, the other one's jabroni. You're calling somebody a jabroni, right?
Read The Rock's lips. Jabroni. JABRONIXYZ ABC. It doesn't matter how you spell jabroni.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another one. Finally, The Rock has come back to, and then insert whatever state, right? So when they would go to another place, he would say, finally, The Rock has come back to Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. That's a little weak, but sure.
Oh, it's an easy pop. It's a cheap pop. It's a cheap pop because the crowd loves. They're like, "Oh, we're from here."
Yep.
Yeah. And so they get excited. Yeah.
He knows where I live.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure.
Just bring it.
Just bring it, bitch.
Lay the smackdown. That's where smackdown comes from.
Sure.
Of course, you got candy ass.
The Rock is going to do to you exactly what he does best, and that's lay the smackdown on your candy ass.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
Oh, huh. Okay.
And then you have, he would like set up a question, right? And then when someone starts to answer, he would say, it doesn't matter, and kind of cut them off.
That's funny. That's like a good bit.
I'll tell you what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. Now what you do, Michael Cole, is you sit your ass down at that announcer's booth, you take off your headset and you don't say a word. And I quote, you know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
My favorite of that is, again, because of he had tag team partnership with Mankind, is when, I can't remember the exact circumstances, but Mick Foley turns it on him.
And let me congratulate you now, 5-time WWF champion.
And he's only 28 years of age. This is getting a little sickening, the Mutual Admiration Society.
And not only that, but I've got to say, Rock, that has got to put you right up there in the elite list of the greatest WWF champions of all time.
Oh, boy. I think I'm getting sugar diabetes.
And I want to know one thing. How does that make you feel?
What do you think?
Well, The Rock. It doesn't matter how it makes you feel.
And then he does like this adorable, just like run around the ring, getting people to chant Foley, Foley. And it's like, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite moments.
That's funny.
Of course, you also have the People's Champ, which he referred to himself as, the People's Elbow, which is his elbow, and the People's Eyebrow. I don't know. Are there any other ones I'm missing, Stik?
He would sometimes tell people to check themselves directly into the SmackDown hotel. He would tell them that he would. My favorite actually is when he would say, "I'm gonna take this object, gonna shine it up real nice, turn that some bitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy ass."
Yeah,
cool,
classic. And so you can kind of get a sense of like, just from like the little tidbits that we've talked about of like why it's called the Attitude Era, right? Because it's like big dudes with a lot of attitude. Like,
Sure.
It's hard to like hammer that home enough, right? Like that is one of the reasons why it is called the Attitude. And I think the other thing is like, I want people to take away from this is like the focus on and the approach of storylines during this time is like essential. So many of the stories are outrageous, and the focus on the story and then just the electric superstars during this era is what makes wrestling just hugely, hugely popular. We didn't really mention like what happens with like what it's called the Monday Night Wars, but WWE wins so handily that Vince ends up buying the WCW in the end. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to get the details wrong, but he wants to have them like simulcast at the same time and like makes an announcement on like the first like episode of WCW announcing that he has taken over. And
That's
it's just like
wild.
It's wild stuff, man. This is the other thing too, and one of the reasons I wanted to spend a lot of time on this is that because wrestling is so popular, merchandising is popular. It is out of control.
Sure. I remember seeing so many action figures, toys, branded everythings, and like the t-shirts galore and stuff. Like you couldn't escape it. Like the reason that I know any wrestlers at all is because I would just see them in toys and t-shirts all everywhere.
Absolutely.
All the time. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's like everywhere during this time, right? And yeah, that is what is like kind of setting the stage for one of the reasons why the Simpsons Wrestling exists. Sure. Is there anything else before we jump out of this that either one of you want to talk about when it comes to the Attitude Era? I know there's tons more to talk about, but I had to keep it a little bit pared down so that we could get into the actual game too.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of outlined what made the Attitude Era, and kind of really what made wrestling popular. Like you said, this is probably the most popular era wrestling has ever had. Even, the Hulk Hogan 80s run, even, some of the other stuff. When you ask somebody when did they start watching wrestling or when was wrestling the most fun for them, they're always going to point to this era. And it was just because of the competition, the over the top personalities, and, just the storylines that, they were different for the time, and it was just a boom period for both companies, really. And a boom period for, I mean, it also influenced like the culture at the time too. Like we talked about it, like merchandising is everywhere. Kids are running around on the playground saying "suck it," like
normal behavior.
Yeah, but I mean, it's everywhere. Even if you didn't watch wrestling, you knew about wrestling.
Yeah.
And one of the other kind of merchandising things I want to talk about is wrestling video games. Do either one of you know how many total wrestling video games have been released to date worldwide?
It's got to be a ridiculously high number, no matter what it is. Like
hundreds. Are we also talking like just non-branded and branded?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, just anything that's like wrestling, period?
Yeah, like including Simpsons Wrestling. The count that I used includes like Simpsons Wrestling.
I mean, I'm thinking, I'm going to say like between 300 and 400.
Yeah. I'm going to say 800.
It's okay. It's a little less than I think y'all are thinking. It's 200, which I thought was a lot. It's 209.
Wow. That's still a lot.
It's still a lot. And that's releasing on home consoles and arcades since 1985. And this is according to SmackDown Hotel's wrestling game database. So like
that does actually kind of surprise me that it's only 209. Like now that I don't know, because that's a long span of time.
Maybe there's more. And this is not the best resource that I could have gotten it from.
I just want to be right.
I
just want my estimate to be more correct. So I'm going to say that you're wrong and it's actually closer to 800.
I'm sure there's like indie games and stuff like that out there that are not like tallied, right?
Sure,
like I'm sure there are ones. Yeah. Although they have some ones that I'm like looking at and I'm like, this almost looks like it was like a solo dev project. Like that is really, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But 209.
Do you have the information like from what you have on how many wrestling games were released like during the sort of era that we're talking about?
I do. That's a great question. There were, during the Attitude Era, so from 1996 till 2002 is kind of where I think it pretty much cuts off.
9/11 ends the Attitude Era, I'm assuming.
9/11 ends a lot of things.
Right? Yeah. It is so much. Humanity's one of them.
Yeah. Going through the airport, not having to take your shoes off.
Although that you can keep your shoes on now. They're changing that.
We just ended that.
That era is ending. Yeah. So all about endings today, I guess.
End of an era. According to SmackDown Hotel's wrestling game database, there were roughly 50 games released during that time.
That is a lot in a really compressed amount of time. That's wild.
Yeah. And there's a lot of notable ones. There's two that I want to just mention really quickly, mostly for comparison's sake to talking about Simpsons Wrestling. The big one, I think, is WWF No Mercy.
Oh my gosh! So close! He kicked out! He kicked out! He kicked out!
That released November 17th, 2000 for the Nintendo 64. So less than a year before Simpsons Wrestling actually released. And Stik, I have a feeling you knew this game.
A lot of people call it, man, the greatest wrestling game of all time, and you'll never get an argument out of me. So many hours into this game, I even going down to the cartridge of just having it being black, because most N64 cartridges were gray. WWF No Mercy was black. It had like the sleek look to it. The intro when you come on, and like at the time we were like, "Oh, these graphics are the greatest of all time." You look back now, it's like, bro, this is terrible. It's not great, but the gameplay, man, it was so accessible. And it built off of the engine. I believe it was THQ AKI who kind of ran the running of this. It just built off of WCW versus NWO World Tour, WCW Revenge, both great in their own right, and WWF WrestleMania 2000, same thing. But WWF No Mercy was that one, man. It was just super fun. Bunch of characters, allowed you to customize stuff. Had a great story mode. It was. A lot of hours was sunk into that game for sure in my household.
These graphics do look better than I would have expected for an N64 game.
Yeah, they're not bad. And like Stik, you nailed literally everything that you can mention about this game. It's accessible. It is like a lot of like wrestling games can be like really technical into how you like put someone, like grapple someone and then do the move. Like they wanted it to be simple so that like you're doing the moves like on the fly, right? Like, which is smart because you don't want to be like mashing around buttons trying to figure out how to do your moves. Simpsons Wrestling. But it's impressive because of the storylines. It's also impressive because the create a wrestler feature. I created so many damn wrestlers that were just like the goofiest dudes alive.
This maybe was the one that I'm thinking of that I played, because I remember playing one. I feel like it looks similar to this, and I definitely would create wrestlers all the time. That looks stupid.
It's highly likely this was the wrestling game you played. This was the most popular one at the time, I would say.
Yeah.
And it had it consistently ranks in like the top 20 at least for N64 games. Not even just like wrestling games, like best N64 games of all time.
Sure.
It featured 4-player fights, no split screen, a roster of 74 superstars to choose from, including unlockable characters like our favorite, the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon.
Oh, wow. That's so weird.
You could wrestle as Linda McMahon.
Oh, God. We live in a hell dimension, don't we?
It's weird. It's really weird.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is like the crazy thing about this game too is that the create a wrestler feature is so in depth. I was like going down a rabbit hole looking this up because that's what I do. And there is currently, if you go to, I think it's GameFAQs, there is a person named Sean Burke who made a guide to creating a variety of different wrestlers and characters, like actual characters, like Freddy Krueger, The Big Show, Bruce Lee, Neo from The Matrix, Al Bundy, and even Duffman. There's a guide for like how to actually create all of those characters. The guide is over 54,000 words. That is
wow.
That's a novel, bro.
It's a novel.
Yeah.
And like people still play this game. Like there's mods, I think, to like bring in like new wrestlers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, I went as soon as I got an N64 from Tech Exchange. Shout out to Tech Exchange. I went and bought the game. Yeah, of course. I went back. I played it. I've done the story mode. It had a lot of features that were never seen in other wrestling games before. Ladder matches, cage matches.
Yeah.
Like you said, the women were in the matches.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it wasn't the best. That's one thing we didn't talk about during the Attitude Era.
It's bad.
It's not the greatest.
Yeah.
But now women wrestling is probably one of my favorite things in wrestling today. I would encourage y'all to watch some of those if you ever get back into wrestling. Women are killing it. But we had never seen, women in wrestling video games like that. So they were breaking so many molds with No Mercy. You can't say enough about this game, man.
It's an amazing one. And the only other one I'll mention really fast too, and this is This was one you might have heard of, Stik. I doubt you've heard of this one, Derek. It's called Fire Pro Wrestling D, that was released for the Dreamcast. And there's a whole series of Fire Pro Wrestlings. They were prominently in Japan, and Japan has like a big wrestling scene as well. This released March of 2001, so really close to the time of Simpsons Wrestling. And it releases for the Dreamcast, so it's like a little bit tricky to like compare it to a PlayStation 1 game.
Right.
But this game has 224 characters in it.
That's bananas.
Yeah. And then you could download an additional 44 characters. Like, it is just wild. There's also a wrestling creator. I've never actually played this game. There is a Game Boy version of Fire Pro Wrestling that I have. I got on my Ambernick and I played that. That also has like 200 characters on it, and it's a Game Boy Advance game. So it's like, it's wild what they're able to like pack into these games.
Wow.
But
yeah, Fire Pro is really popular just because, you know, with the characters, they're either able to, you know, they use the regular characters, but the mods are able to like insert characters from other promotions, or they use like the Japan promotion, and that's what makes it fun. And the combat or the mechanics are fun. Like, it's again very accessible for other players to get into. Yeah, Fire Pro is very, very dope. I didn't know they had one for Dreamcast though.
Yeah, it. I don't think it ever released in the US. I don't know, but I know that there is one, like I said, for Game Boy Advance, and it's fun. I played a little bit of it. They are really interesting games, but yeah, and like, again, there's like 50 different wrestling games released during this time, including Simpsons Wrestling. So like, there's a lot of people trying to get in on the popularity of wrestling in gaming. So those are just two that I just wanted to like call out. Like, there's tons of other ones that we could talk about, but we have a Simpsons game to talk about too. So unless there's any other one that y'all want to shout out, we can get ready to jump into talking about Simpsons Wrestling.
The only one I would say is WWF SmackDown that came out the year before in 2000. Again, very, you know, one of the first 3Ds. You know, Dreamcast had I think like WWF Royal Rumble that was also in 3D, but SmackDown was kind of the first one. You know, I think it was on the original PlayStation, and you know, it felt real. That, you know, the entrances felt better, even more so than No Mercy, and everything just felt like you really felt like you were actually in the game for once. Like, you felt like this, you could watch this and it felt like real wrestling or whatever. You know, the graphics still weren't like the super greatest, but they were like some of the best at the time. So I do want to give a quick shout out to them.
Yeah, wrestling games are fun. Like, I remember enjoying
they really
them,
are.
and I feel like I would enjoy playing one now, like when it's, you know, well done and everything. Like, I mean, it's literally two guys fighting in a ring. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, or four, or more than that, like, depending on, I think like some newer games probably have like bigger match sizes just from like online play, I would have to imagine.
Sure, that makes sense.
I haven't played any of the 2K wrestling games, but I would be surprised if they didn't add those.
No, why not?
All right. Well, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the game. So again, this game released in March of 2001, March 22nd, 2001 in Europe, and April 12th, 2001. Derek, where does that place us in the Simpsons television timeline?
Yeah, so this places us in season 12. I think we commented on it briefly in last month's episode for the Treehouse episode, but obviously we spent a lot of time talking about Treehouse of Horror episodes. So we kind of skipped over what the contemporary episodes of the show happening at the time were, but it's a pretty big jump from games released around season 8 and then nothing released for like 3 years basically, and then suddenly we're in season 12 and the show is a wildly different beast in season 12 than it was in season 8, which I think it's just weird for us tracking this, because I think for context, a lot of people, like, obviously this is all subjective, but a lot of people feel like what is generally considered like the classic golden era of The Simpsons tends to end or drop off around season 9, 10, or 11. It's kind of like where people usually go to. Most people just to keep it easy, just stay season 10. Like, nothing after that is ever as good. Some people say season 8, honestly, is the last good one. I'm somewhere in the middle of that, but I do agree that it's around this time that the show is just goes from being like good to inconsistent to like more bad than good in some cases for a little while. So we're kind of squarely in an era that's criticized. I don't think I don't think personally that season 12 is as bad as the show can get. I think that once you get into like the 14, 15, 16s, that's when it's sort of like, there's a lot of really not great stuff here. I think season 12 still has some really great episodes, like one of the 3 that we're going to talk about right now. But the first one that we have to talk about is the 16th episode of season 12. This aired on March 11th, 2001, and this is the episode Bye Bye Nerdie, which has Kathy Griffin guest starring as a new bully to Lisa.
Francine? I think we got off to a bad start. So, hey, you like Malibu Stacy too.
Oh, yeah.
And you like the same one I like, with the grad student glamour pack, just like the one in my locker. That's mine, isn't it? Oh.
Tastes like yours.
How about jazz? Do you like jazz?
That's the main premise of the episode. Personally, I'll just open up and say, I think the first third of this episode is fantastic and really funny. I think the actual bully plot and the last third, what is 1/3? The last 1/3, what, I don't know. The last portion of the episode. The last third of the episode, right? No, the last 2/3. I can't do math. I think
I don't know what the hell you were trying to say.
The last portion of the episode sucks. I think the episode goes so downhill so fast and gets real bad. But I think the opening of it, with all the babies and all the baby stuff, is hilarious. That's my take on this episode.
Yeah, what did you think of this one, Stik? Especially considering this was one of your introductions to the show, basically.
So let's start off there. So like I told you, I've always thought The Simpsons was like a real adult show. So I thought they would have a plot point and they would follow that plot point and there would be a conclusion to the plot point. Like a normal, you understand what it's supposed to be. I didn't realize that Simpsons had A and B plot points for shows like a lot of sitcoms did. I also didn't know that they don't always go in the direction that they were supposed to go. So I was thinking with this bully plot point that, either Lisa has to fight the bully or, Lisa has to, confront her and try to figure out why she's doing this or whatever. And she does, but it's not in the way that you would ever expect or whatever, right?
Yeah.
With all that said, I did not like this at all. This was not the greatest introduction. I did like like Derek said, the baby plot point. I thought that was hilarious. Who is the voice of the door-to-door salesman lady? She is a classic voice.
Probably Tress McNeil. She usually does.
I think so.
Voices. Yeah.
I've heard her so often. She is so classic at that voice. I love her so much. So that plot point was good, but the direction they took the bully plot point, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So the Simpsons, even in its best years, is famous sometimes of having this sort of first act swerve, I think is what they would call it, where and it was an intentional thing because it's sort of we don't want audiences to necessarily always predict where our plots are going to go, right? So a lot of times you'll have episodes, and it's often done really elegantly in a lot of good episodes where it'll start off seeming oh, here's what our sitcom plot's going to be, and the Simpsons family goes to the fair and have fair shenanigans for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the episode, and you're expecting oh, basic sitcom TV logic, they're just going to be at the fair the whole episode, and then something happens at the fair that then gets them to a completely different place, and then with Act 2 the actual plot to the episode starts. And when that's done really well, it can be really fun because you basically get 2 episodes in one that are connected and make sense. This era of the show, it does that a lot more and goes a lot harder on it in a way that I think veers into absurdity often. And I think a lot of it comes from like when you hear the writers talk about it on commentaries and stuff like that, they often will be something like, we couldn't really figure out where to go at the end of it, and we were going to go in this direction, but we decided that wasn't enough, so we decided to either veer away from expectation or go into this direction because it seemed like it will be more fun or more actiony or something. And they do that with like many episodes, but that also ends up leading to episodes just being way more weird and absurd than The Simpsons ever used to be, to the point that it's just sort of like, what the fuck? This isn't even like a real story. This just feels like random shit that you're doing for no reason. And many of the worst episodes of this era do that, unfortunately. And this is definitely one of them, I think.
I think just in the way Homer kind of ends the episode, where it's like, she just did it for attention. That's kind of where you think the episode's going to go. And like, Lisa's like, no, Dad, he just did it for attention.
Yeah.
So that was, I laughed at that. I was like, yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah.
That's clearly where this episode is supposed to go. And that made me chuckle. But like the way they got there, I was like, I get it. Lisa's smart. She does the whole science thing. It's just like, it wasn't what I expected. I do have a quick question though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hyper obsessed about things.
Yeah.
When Marge and Homer are alone and they're like, hey, we finally got the kids out the house. We're alone. And they had a conversation, and it's a very weak conversation. And then Homer goes, I think our marriage is, and then the doorbell rings. Does that foreshadow for something later in the season, or is that just random?
No, that's just
completely
commenting
random.
on their
Really?
marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. The thing with The Simpsons is it's a really, especially if you don't have any context for it, it's like such a disconnected continuity most of the time. I mean, there's like very few things that like they'll revisit back to, but like it tends to stay like completely from episode to episode, season to season. It's rare that you have something that is like connecting to something else, and I think that is something that like honestly is kind of special about the show, because a lot of even like Family Guy, I think, has like more of a continuity and like has more storylines and stuff like that are like maybe a little bit more interweaved, but like Simpsons really doesn't have that. I mean, they truly don't. And they'll sometimes make a joke out of referencing back to something as a way of like pointing that out too, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And like, to be clear, there will be like status quo changes or whatever. Like might be one episode where it's like, if a character dies, they stay dead. Or if like, two characters get divorced, they stay divorced or something like that. Like there are big things, but it's like, usually it doesn't really, it only matters for like that one episode or episodes where they maybe revisit that plot point, like it's still not something where it's like you don't have to be following a season continuity or anything like that. Like there really aren't like multi-episode storylines for this show. Yeah. I am glad you brought up Family Guy, Tommy, because I do think that is one thing that's also hanging over this that I think is also a major reason for a big shift in the show's tone, is that like, between season 8 and what we're talking about now, season 12, both South Park and then Family Guy have gotten really big. Like South Park is gotten huge. That it had already premiered at this point, but it's like, hitting its highest power at this point. And Family Guy premieres in 99. Famously it like gets canceled after 3 seasons. So it's not like the biggest of all hits, but like it is a pretty flash in the pan thing at the time. And like, it is catching a lot of attention, and a lot of the commentary at the time is that like The Simpsons is starting to feel like the previous generation show, and South Park and Family Guy is kind of the new generation, which I think also pushes the Simpsons sensibility to being a little more mean-spirited and a little more random, because that's what Family Guy and South Park was often dealing in.
It's the WCW and the WWE. Like it kind of in a way is, one starts doing it, the other starts doing it, and then they kind of like, feed off of each other.
Right.
But yeah, I this is the episode when we kind of said at the top, I was like, one is real, like good, one is medium, and another one's just bad. This is the one that I put in the medium category.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do think it's like,
they're funny jokes. There are a lot of funny jokes in it. It's just like around a plot that isn't like good.
Yeah. I would say it's like, I don't know, medium rare, right? So it's like on the lower end of medium, but like, I think that like, it's tough because like when they do start getting really just into like the wackiness of the the nerd sweat and like
bullies have a special gene where they can spell nerds and shit, and they call it Poindextrous. Like it's just like it doesn't like none of this. It doesn't matter.
It's too on the nose.
It's too on the nose, but it's also like not clever enough to be like to feel inspired either, you know?
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. Is like there's not anything in this episode that feels very inspired. Like there just isn't.
Yeah. I do. Again, the baby proofing stuff I think is really funny. I will never. One of my favorite jokes is like, you know, the lady coming in and just saying, "Your baby is dead."
Classic.
Dead, you know, dead tired of, or that's what I would say if, you know, without this baby proofing or whatever. I forgot the follow up, but like, your baby is dead. It's so funny. And all that stuff. And her was like trying to open the bottle of baby formula. Like
Similac.
It's so good. It's so good. Like that whole sequence is really funny.
Also the two of them noting like, it's so dumb, but when Homer says like, "I've never seen a baby with a caboose that big" or something, and then Marge is like Homer, and then she looks and she goes, "Oh wow, that is big."
Yeah,
something like that.
It's good.
It's good. It's funny.
That whole scene is great. Like that whole scene with the baby proofing sales lady is fantastic.
Even Homer kind of going a little over the top for baby proofing is good too. Like I kind of wish that was like the main plot of the episode, because I think they do a really good. I think Maggie with the nail gun is hilarious.
Yeah.
Him like creating like the cement phone, like all of that stuff is just like golden stuff, and it just kind of all gets lost in the sauce of like the bully subplot, which you know, which is not even the subplot, it's the plot. Like, you know, so it's a little weird.
We can move on to the next episode, which is just, you know, going to be a huge step up from that, because it's the episode Simpson Safari. Of course, you know, an episode in 2001 where the Simpsons go to the continent of Africa. It's going to be good. There's going to be no problems here, right? Everything's going to be great. It's just going to be fun, harmless, joyous, delightful.
Totally unproblematic.
The wokest thing you've ever seen in your life. Just incredible. Like, I mean, I think you kind of know, I do think you have to know what you're getting into when you're watching a 25-year-old episode about white characters going to Africa. Like, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know, if I weren't y'all friend, I'd be like, wow, y'all picked me for this episode. That's kind of crazy. But
I was like looking at the like nearest episodes. I was like, oh, damn, Simpsons Safari. Shit.
But here's the thing. It's like when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is an old episode, so you just have to anticipate it being crazy. And then I watched it. I was like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as I've seen.
Yes.
You know?
It's not near. It could have been so much worse. Like, I think that if this episode has an upside, I think like I don't think it's ever positioning any of the actual people they interact with as like villainous or bad or like, you know, there's obviously like stereotype things that are in here, but like pretty much everyone they interact with are like pretty cool and like very nice. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that goes a long way. Because I don't know, there's way worse versions of this episode that could have existed. Not saying that it's great, but there's way worse versions that could have existed.
Yeah,
it is a little weird that there's not like a single black actor in the entire cast. I was
gonna say, like, that's the other thing is like the cast is like completely white, so it's like it adds an extra layer of just like, wow, this is really not aged well. Like, is like the best way to put it. Like, yeah. It's not great. And like even the episode itself is just honestly, it's boring.
It's
like,
just a bunch of stuff that happens. It truly is just a lot of things that happen.
There's not much to this episode where I'm like even the like it's one of those things too where it's like I don't mind a Simpsons plot hook when it's like goofy and out there and like unearned, but like the plot hook for this one is just so, I just feel like it's just so drawn on of like they're looking for food. I don't even remember why they're looking
because
for
of the
food.
bag boy strike.
I
do think that bit is kind of funny. Like that it's like the bag boys go on strike and everyone's just sort of like
they don't have food. Yeah.
Yeah. But the idea that it's sort of like the ironic sense of just like, yeah, the bag boys are the people that are just the most selfish, greedy people that ever exist are bag boys. Like, I think that's actually a really funny bit.
And I agree. And but that's the thing that kind of throws me off. Again, not being a Simpsons connoisseur, I would have loved them to explore that plot point more.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I would have loved an episode where, like, for whatever reason, it's like a precursor like Superstore, and like it's like, you know what I'm saying, where they're more focused on the bag boy strike, but then like next thing I know they're in Africa, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, it's such a leap, right? Like it is such a swerve, right? Like that it feels completely unearned, right? Like you could see a different version of this episode where like they do the bag boy strike and then it's like we're gonna start our own grocery store. Like another show might do that, right? But like Simpsons, nope, they end up in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that side of it because I think that's part of the fun often is it's just sort of seeing how they're going to get to their big plot from something completely disconnected. I don't think that's a problem, honestly, because many of the best, especially John Swartzwelder episodes of the classic era did that too. I think it is just like this still being another tropey thing. The Simpsons, another sort of common Simpsons trope is just the Simpsons are going to X and then they just go to another place in the world and then it's just a bunch of stereotypes and jokes about that place rather than like a plot. Like it's a bunch of vignettes. And that's the weird thing about this one too, is that like it's kind of just a lot of vignettes about them being in Africa until the very, very end, like just the last like few minutes of it suddenly become the plot of like a Jane Goodall riff, which like if there was a whole episode about the Simpsons living with Jane Goodall for a while and then it turns out that she's evil, which I do think is like a weird kind of funny like dark turn. I think that also could have been its own episode plot, but like mixed in is just all the other vignettes of other things just makes it feel really messy. I do really like the two things in this episode very deeply though. I really like Homer saying, or more mouth-watering monkeys. I laugh really hard whenever he says that. And also the Jane Goodall lady saying diamonds. I fucking love that so much.
How could you exploit your beloved chimps like this?
I think we should look at her research before we condemn her entirely. I haven't said anything for a while.
These are just pictures of monkeys from famous movies. This is disgraceful, Doctor.
All right, so I snapped. You don't understand the crushing loneliness and greed.
Don't worry, Doctor. We'll get you all the help you need.
No, don't put me away. I'll give you diamonds. Everybody wants diamonds. Diamonds will make everything all better. Diamonds! Diamonds!
What a nice lady.
Very nice.
Can I ask y'all a question?
Yeah, of course.
When it comes to like The Simpsons, I know y'all say that this happens often. Like, do y'all appreciate that portion where it's like, how often where you're like, I like the plot point that they gave us versus I wish they would have done the other plot point or how they started. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like they hook you in with something and then it just switches. Do you find yourself liking where they switch to more often, or do you like the hook more so?
I think the difference between like a good instance of that and a bad instance of it is when the first plot that you get, you still feel kind of satisfied and resolved with what you've seen. Like it feels like they have kind of already exhausted the jokes that they would have told and then move on from it. And I think the bad side of it is when it's like, I feel like that was just a story that you didn't finish. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a way to just do a quick 5 minute Simpsons episode and get out of the way and feel like you've had that and then can move on. Versus I do think this case, it does feel like there's more to explore here with the entire town of Springfield dealing with this bag boy strike that like it feels unsatisfying that we then quickly veer away from it.
Yeah, and they don't even like, I feel like there's an opportunity for them to like come back home and like the town's like descended into chaos or something like that. Like I don't even feel like they pay off the bag boy joke in the end at all, except for like a comment that like Homer makes, which is like, I think that's what I mean when I'm like I'm kind of harping on this episode. I also don't mind when they do the swerve, but like I just think like when it's a huge leap and it's not funny and it's like, you know, when you have all that stuff that kind of like piles onto it with this episode, it's like it really sours me on like even just kind of the whole setup to begin with, right? Where it's like, and the other thing too, like again, what I was getting at with like how boring like the actual setup to get them to Africa, like I think it is funny that that you think they're gonna win this trip because Homer finds the golden giraffe, and then it like the string breaks and it hits him in the eye. But like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really like, they don't spend enough time with it, or like there's just something off about it because of this episode that it like makes me kind of hate it. Like it almost feels like it's like a wasted thing because of just everything else in the episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Fair.
Yeah. Well, we can move away from this episode. Cause the episode after this, is like genuinely one of my faves. It's Trilogy of Error, which it's a really gimmicky episode of The Simpsons. It's one of the first of this kind that it's ever done. And I think it's pretty widely regarded as being like one of the better ones of the sort of latter era or the post Golden Age. It's a handful of things. Basically it's kind of the structure of you're following one sort of complicated interconnected story. And each act of the episode you're watching is from the perspective of someone else. So you have Homer's perspective on events, Lisa's perspective on events, and Bart's perspective on events. It's not like a Rashomon situation. It's more like you're basically only seeing parts of the story from certain people's perspectives. So then eventually by the end of the episode, you finally have the full story and understand what all of these seemingly random things were and how they all tied together into this one really bizarre, complicated story. And it's also like kind of a Run Lola Run parody too at the same time, which is really funny.
It's wild. Again, like the 3 episodes that we give you, Stik, are like so wildly different. What did you think going into this one? Because it's so different than the other 2.
I'll say there was 2 thoughts. My first thought was this is an episode that would make me interested in watching The Simpsons. Based off of this, I was like, this is good. I like everything about this one. I like episodes where you kind of get like different POVs from different characters, and you know everything's connected, but you're waiting to see how everything landed or whatever. So I love this episode. This was my favorite of the 3. And the second thing I thought was, this is a gimmicks episode. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, this is clearly a gimmicks episode or whatever. So I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. I love this one. I thought it was, like I said, it was my favorite one. And I laughed at each different arc because everything was just ridiculous. And then when you find out like parts of a previous arc and kind of see like, oh, that's hilarious. So that was pretty fun for me. I'm glad this kind of bookended the episode. So I was like, it ended on a high note for me.
Yeah. That's, and I think that's also evidence of like, there's still good stuff to come out of The Simpsons, even in this era. I do think that like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that we're going to have an opportunity to talk about him because I think this is his last season as showrunner, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Mike Scully was the showrunner for 4 years of the show. We basically have missed his entire era of showrunner because this is the last era, and he's the first showrunner that does 4 seasons rather than 2 seasons in a row, which I do think is sort of interesting. And then that changes the precedent. And then I think it becomes a problem for the show after this. But I only bring that up because he is a writer that has been on the show, for many, many years, including in the Golden Age, and written a lot of great episodes. And I think sometimes the fandom for a long time would saddle him with being responsible for like having destroyed The Simpsons or whatever, because it's during his era that the show starts to go downhill, when the reality is just that like the show is aging and changing, and you have the whole Family Guy, South Park sort of thing happening at the same time. And I think he was just keeping up with the times. And I do think this episode is kind of evidence that it's sort of like, they were like, yes, they were trying to be more Family Guy, but they also, I think, were interested in experimenting more in ways that they hadn't, because they knew that they had been going on for a long time. Like, and as they're getting older, they just have more room to try out new things. And this is a new thing that they try out. And I think it really excels.
Yeah. And I am on record as saying 22 Short Films About Springfield is my favorite Simpsons episode. And this has that DNA, I think, in it a little bit of just kind of like, little vignettes and like not like concerning itself like too much with like the, some of the other stuff we were just talking about of like, we have the setup and then we have the swerve and then we like, get there. This is just purely like its own kind of form of storytelling that The Simpsons really like. When they do it well, they do it really well. And I think that this episode is no exception. It's one of my favorites as well. I really, really like just everything about this episode, even down to like how it resets, right? Like back to each character and like the trash truck coming. it like pausing on the characters and giving you like their name. Like they do such a good job with the little details in this episode, and that's like really what makes it like I think truly sing. But
yeah, 1, 2, 3 Fake Street gets me every time. It's such a stupid joke, but it's so funny, and the way that it carries through the entire episode.
Yeah,
it's very good, and even down to like you get Police Chief Wiggum, like you get like the POV of like him sitting and talking back to the people who he has undercover, and you don't know who that is, and then you get into Bart's story, and then you find out he's the one who's undercover, and like it's all just so well done, and like you said, I think it's indicative. I think these 3 episodes are very indicative of this era of The Simpsons, where it's like you have the like, you know, this is fine. Like there's some things that I would gripe about it. You know, it's not my favorite, and like maybe I even dislike it. Bad, like then you have the bad, and then you have like something that is still like a kind of a diamond in the rough, so to speak. Of like it's just very inconsistent, right? Because they can still pull off the quality, like we see it. So
it sounds like The Simpsons is very similar to how like wrestling is, and like Tom just taking off what you said, where you know you watch wrestling in your childhood, and then eventually you taper off. It sounds like The Simpsons kind of has that kind of similar feel, where it's like there's a golden era, you like this is where you have to watch every week, and then eventually you're like, the quality's not there, and you're watching, but you're not. It doesn't invoke the same feeling that you had early on, and so maybe you know you don't watch as much. You're not watching it on time. Maybe you're recording an episode, and you're watching it later, and you know maybe sometimes you come back when like a season somebody says the season's pretty good, and you go back. It feels like wrestling and Simpsons are very similar in that standpoint.
Yeah, no,
absolutely,
for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a show that you can like I said, like I think the show gets pretty bad for a while, but then I think it also picks up again after a while, you know.
Yeah.
So, and we're most of the games that we're going to be covering for a while now, we're going to be kind of stuck in the bad years, unfortunately. But
yeah, we get this kind of like the X axis or Y axis, whatever they kind of cross, right? Like of like Simpsons TV show quality versus game quality. And with the exception of this game and then the next game we're going to talk about, they're just, there's problems. But like the next kind of couple of games that we talk about, the big ones are like very, very good and well regarded as the seasons of the show really start to decline. We should call out that there is a guest star in this episode, and it's Frankie Muniz.
Sorry, I was rushing because I'm in the wrong school. Can you believe that?
It's understandable. All the schools in this area were built from identical plans. I guess they didn't have enough money to hire I Am Pay.
Oh, you know about I Am Pay? I am impressed.
My name's Thelonious.
As in monk?
Yes, the esoteric appeal is worth the beatings.
What do your friends call you?
I don't really have any friends.
Just like me. It's 11:15. We've been spinning for hours. I've got to get to my school and hand in linguo. Oh, but I don't want to leave you.
You must. You can't sacrifice grades for romance. That's not the girl I fell for.
Will I ever see you again?
Of course you will. At the Magnet High School.
It's fun. It's a cute little guest role. I actually think Frankie Muniz as a love interest for Lisa is like very smart.
Perfect.
Casting. I think that makes a ton of sense. Lisa's whole story is like a weird dream too. Like she's in like another school, opposite school, and then is like spinning for hours and like losing time and stuff. I'm like, I feel like I've had stress dreams exactly like this. But
very strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This episode's great. Oh, it also has the Millhouse line where this is where I come to cry.
This is where I come to cry.
Iconic line.
There's great lines in all of these episodes. When I was watching them, I forgot to take them down, but like I was watching them and I was like, that's one that I quote all the time. This is where I come to cry is one. There's still just like banger jokes that they have in these. So
is the meme of Lisa standing on the stage with the thing, with the thing, that comes from the episode as well. Even though we may not like the episode, but it's a popular meme that is used very often. So Simpsons is very, despite what some people may think about later seasons, is very ingrained in pop culture, despite whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, it still honestly, like, is. Like, I think
sure.
it's tapered off. Like, obviously, it's definitely not what it was in the heyday, but it's like it has its peaks and valleys, and I think we're in a point in time where it's like maybe kind of on the upswing a little bit. I
think
would say.
it's just it's in pop culture in a different way. It's just I think it's become something that like is. I think it is just evolved beyond the show itself. Like you will know The Simpsons as this sort of pop culture iconography and institution, regardless of your relationship with the show. If you've ever seen it in your life or know anything about it, you will know so many lines, images, memes, moments from it, and references to it, no matter what. Like it is just that ingrained into our culture. And that does make it, I think, really unique among a lot of other pop culture things.
Absolutely. Yep. Nothing quite like The Simpsons, and I don't know that there ever will be, to be quite honest. But I mean, honestly, it is kind of funny talking about The Simpsons and wrestling at the same time. I do think there's a lot of parallels. Like you just called a really great one out, Stik. Like I think about, like you mentioned, like you'll tune back in for stuff. Like whenever they have like the big wrestlers come back, like, you know, Stone Cold comes back to Raw and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I'm definitely checking this out. Like, I'm going to see what's going on with this. And I think very similar to how wrestling has impacted culture, I think Simpsons has like a very similar impact as well. And like, they're equally like, well, wrestling's been running for a lot longer, but they each have like, they're both very long running things. So, yeah, it's really fascinating, I think, when you compare the two of them. But all right, if there's nothing else for these two episodes, let's get into the game proper. I'll get the kind of nuts and bolts out of the way here really quickly. This was developed and published. Well, it was published by Fox Interactive, but they also partnered with Electronic Arts for distribution in the EU, and Activision distributed in North America. It was developed by Big Ape Productions. Big Ape was a small developer. It made a few games, not a ton. They don't have a huge backlog, but some of the people that work for them have had a pretty storied career. The big games that they worked on were Herc's Adventures, in 1997, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Gauntlet Dark Legacy in 2000, which is a phenomenal game, Simpsons Wrestling, of course, and then in 2003, they worked on MTV Celebrity Deathmatch for Windows, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that they had Simpsons Wrestling, and then they went on to make, after that, this MTV Celebrity Deathmatch game. I don't know if either one of you ever played that one. I know you have to know what Celebrity Deathmatch was.
Yeah, I know the show, but never played the game for it.
Same. I never played a game.
Yeah. So I want to talk really quickly about the timeline for this game because it's pretty interesting. So in PlayStation Magazine, they actually reported that the game was intended for a release in the third quarter of 2000. So kind of like fall 2000. Again, remember, it comes out in March in the EU and then April 2001 in the US. And they're not the only ones who list it as coming out in the third quarter of 2000. Other places say like fall 2000. So like it is intended to come out a little before it actually ends up coming out. Games Business Magazine later on lists it as a Q4 release. So like it's kind of like a moving target as to when this game is actually going to come out, which always indicates to me something delayed this from actually like releasing. The other thing we have to remember is this is 2001. The PlayStation 2 is already out.
Yeah.
So funny. It's so funny.
They released this. It is a PlayStation 1 exclusive game, and the PlayStation 2 is like just out there. In a couple of interviews that I listened to, the developers actually talk about that, and they said that apparently Fox didn't want them to have a PlayStation 2 version because they felt like it needed to be more aimed at kids, and the PlayStation 1 was like the kid console. I don't know that I understand that logic, but
it sounds like corporate executives who don't understand things. Logic is what it is, unfortunately.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, the 2 has to be for adults. Like, no.
Yeah. None of that
Yeah,
works.
why would the PlayStation be for kids, but the PlayStation 2 wouldn't? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But regardless, we do end up simply with just the one version of the game for the PlayStation 1, which unfortunately I think leads to a lot of some of the issues that you have with the game, just in terms of performance and stuff like that. There's a lot of like promos kind of leading up to this game. Nothing like over the top. You get like some full page spreads in various different magazines. I did think I'll send you guys this picture because I think this is really fascinating. I actually posted it on Blue Sky earlier in the week, but there's this like full page spread. And again, this is intended to like showcase the game, but really you just have a drawing of Homer and then a little bit of text in the top right corner. And then in the very bottom left, you have a little tiny square where you see a little bit of the gameplay. And I just think that's really kind of like, you see that a lot with this game where they're just like trying to not necessarily show off too much.
And this is a really bad drawing of Homer too.
It's a terrible drawing of Homer.
They kind of whiffed this whole thing. Yikes.
Yeah. And the tiny font, there's nothing really that interesting in it, but they just mention Homer Simpson, the true man's man, the king, the aspirational male stereotype, our hero. Fox Interactive assures us that the Simpsons Wrestling will be out by the end of the year and will feature all the voice talent from the TV show. This, of course, was in 2000, so they said that it's going to be out by the end of the year, and they don't make that date. So another reason why I wanted to call attention to that. The other thing I noted was as like the game was like being hyped up, you get some like fan art that's sent into magazines. So this picture that I just sent y'all is sent into PlayStation Magazine, Volume 4, Number 12, Issue 40, and it's Bart as it's pretty cool. It's Bart as The Rock, and then Homer as Kane. So
that's sick, honestly. Like that's so good.
I'm going to be honest. I wanted to find who this artist is because they did a really terrible fucking job of like actually crediting this. They just listed as Thanks 526, which 526 was like a website that housed like anime and like pictures and stuff like that. And so like, I have no idea who this actual artist was.
That sucks.
That stinks.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah.
It makes me too wish that they had just spent the time and money of like licensing like a Simpsons like actual and then like actual like NWO, WWE, whatever it would have been called at that time, like licensed together, and then you could literally have like Simpsons-ified versions of pre-existing wrestlers in their game. I think that would be really fun.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, I would have wanted this.
Yeah.
This
really cool.
seems like a much better version of that.
Yeah. They really missed the mark, I think, in how they set up this game, and I think that would have been a really great crossover opportunity. And I'm sure like WWE would have went for that. Like they were up for like marketing gimmicks, and then you would have had like this whole crossover event on like Raw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They could have done so much with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. This what Scooby-Doo does with like WrestleMania stuff now, the Simpsons could have done it in 2001.
Absolutely. Some other quick things I just wanted to note. So the game is finally previewed in Game Informer. It's Game Informer 95 from March 2001. And of course, so many places say the exact same thing. They say, "Can you smell what Homer Simpson is cooking?" And then another magazine later on, I forget where I got this one from. Oh, in PlayStation Magazine, they say, "Can you smell what the Bart is cooking?" So like They just all pull from the same language. Anyway, it's finally previewed in March of 2001, which is the same month it's coming out. So like, again, not getting great vibes, right? Like, you know, about like just the timing of this. And they basically showcase just like a bunch of just different screenshots from the game. And even the I got to give credit to the writer of this article, which is not anywhere to be found, but they do a really good job of like calling attention to the fact that like there were issues when this game was previewed at like E3 and stuff like that. And it even starts out and says, when Fox Interactive pulled away the curtain to unveil this obscure game at last summer's Electronic Entertainment Expo, it wasn't a question of what the development team was smoking, but rather how much. As avid viewers of the television series, we had the highest expectations for this title. Within minutes, however, our smiles transformed into frowns, and our first impression could be best described as bow liquefying. Apparently, we weren't the only ones with damp drawers, as Fox Interactive delayed this project numerous times, hopefully to perform exorcism and to rid this miserable software of its heinous gameplay. So again, this is a preview.
Yikes.
Like,
Yikes.
typically previews are like tend to be kind of positive, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it goes on from there, and they talk a lot about the game, but like you can see like people have like an expectation of like, okay, we've already seen a little bit of this and we're not like huge fans. Just to kind of give you a taste of like what else is going on at the time. Like, again, remembering like we're talking about Simpsons Wrestling. 5 page earlier in this same issue of Game Informer magazine, you get this spread, which is about Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
The greatest Final Fantasy of all time.
It's wild to me. Like, you have, within a span of 5 pages,
that's crazy.
You have Final Fantasy X and then Simpsons Wrestling. And again, I'm not trying to like pile onto this game, but I do think like there's just some like fundamental flaws, and like I think it's just wild that they just didn't like go back to the drawing board on certain aspects of this game, just considering everything else that was out there at the time. Anyway, that's a preview of it. We also have another preview in PlayStation Magazine in March as well. As far as kind of promotional materials, there's like some full page advertising of the game as well. But like, again, like one of the things that I noticed as I was like pulling all of this stuff together is just how much real estate is given to just like the Simpsons, like drawing aspect of this, and then how little like the actual previews of the game itself actually are. And like, that's not, you know, other things do that, right? Like you see games that will focus on like showcasing the cutscenes as opposed to the gameplay, but like I don't know, there's something about like how they feel about like it feels intentional, right? Like here to just have the big focus be the Simpsons drawings and not the actual game itself, especially when you consider this is the first 3D game of like showcasing the Simpsons.
That's a good point. Like that should have been that theoretically should have been a thing that was like in the marketing. That's the first time you're seeing the Simpsons in 3D. So yeah, that's not a good sign.
Not a good sign. Jumping into the development really fast, I did want to just say there's actually a lot of information out there about this game, which is really fascinating, and I had a really good time researching it. There's even like some of the developers who worked on this game like wrote in their own blogs about the game. So as we've had happen in the past, we're like there's too many people that work on these games to shout everybody out and go through the entire like kind of cast that works on it. But I do want to just mention a few individuals. The first of which is Michael Ebert. He's actually one of the founders of Big Ape Games, or Big Ape Productions rather. He got his start working at Lucasfilm Games back in 1989, where he worked on Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back for the NES and the Game Boy, The Secret of Monkey Island, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and Zombies Ate My Neighbors. He goes on to co-found Big Ape Productions, and they released their first game, Herc's Adventures, in 1997, which I mentioned earlier, with the publisher LucasArts kind of attached to it. Again, there's just like a ton of information out there. Michael Ebert, his blog is actually now kind of defunct, but you can still see it in using the Wayback Machine. It was called beautiful-danger.net. He has a whole kind of like entry on the Simpsons Wrestling, and I'm just going to read from it really quickly. It says, If you're going to make a bad game, at least be happy that it made money. Bad games can teach a lot and give you some funny stories. Simpsons was a bonanza of funny learning experiences. And then he has a list of bulleted items, which say, be sure the licensee is aware of the violence level of the game. It's really hard after the game is at alpha to go back and make it so some of the characters cannot attack others. Try to avoid having the Columbine massacre make you cut levels involving schools.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
That timing makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
He says, don't sacrifice the frame rate of the PS1 just to put cartoon lines around your characters.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Expect any dialogue the Simpsons writers give you to be too graphic and offensive for games.
Oh, Lord, it's the Simpsons. Like, come on.
Just
Jeez.
wait. Working with licensed properties and approvals can be extremely difficult if your producer is inexperienced and then quits mid-project.
Oh.
Wow.
Despite getting a bad review score, you may still find you have a lot of fans that love the game, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
And then here's one I think you'll really like. Don't put the word wrestling on any product that is not a hardcore wrestling game.
Sure.
Wrestling fans will eat you alive for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one, and then we can kind of pull some of these apart. He says, no matter how cool a feature is, expect that some executive somewhere is going to ask you to remove it. We had an interactive character select screen where the Simpsons characters could reach across the select screen to punch and trash talk each other. We had to remove that and replace it with non-talking static 2D images.
So annoying because that's the best part of this game is just having the Simpsons characters talking and saying things to each other, like having them interact, and like how more interaction only would have made the game better. So it's like it's like why? What's the reason for eliminating that, right? Like why it's just baffling, and we'll never know. But it's like why what weird idea did some executive have in their head where it's sort of like for some reason, this game where characters are beating up on each other, if they're beating up on each other on the select screen, that crosses over into being too violent somehow. Like, it's just stupid.
So I just put a screenshot in the chat of this is from YouTuber Flandrew, who actually interviewed Michael Ebert, and Ray West is another person who worked on the game. He was a 3D modeler and animator, and they talk about there's footage of the 3D character model select screen and like what it could do. Here's my thing. I think the idea of having them be able to trash talk on the select screen is, it's good. I don't think it necessarily like pulls this game out of like being so what it is, but it does add another layer of like,
that's the stuff that's good about the game though, is what I'm saying. Like that,
True.
And I think that if they're removing that, I have to imagine other things that got removed were probably along those same lines too, that it's just like more character interactions and jokes and lines, which are the things that are good about this game, so yeah.
The biggest thing for me, and they spend a lot of time talking about this, in the outline piece. Apparently, Fox was very adamant about having the characters have a cartoony look, like the black outline around the characters, and that apparently takes so much effort for the PlayStation to actually do that running it on original hardware actually slows down. They had to reduce the frame rate for the game in order for it to actually be playable. And they even like went as far as to there is a cheat code that you can put in the game that removes that outline, and it actually runs the game better when it's removed.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so strange. Wow. Huh.
It's wild. It's really, really wild. The dialogue piece is a little weird because he mentions that the Simpsons writers came up with stuff that they had to then end up pulling, but both Michael Ebert and Ray West, the two people who were interviewed on Flandrew's video, they actually say that the developers themselves actually wrote some of the lines too. Like they wrote some of the Simpsons lines, and like they even made a big point out of mentioning that like in the raw voice files they got back that Harry Shearer actually laughed at some of their lines, and they were like really proud of that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit weird. They're like talking about how like the Simpsons writers wrote stuff that was like too much, and then they also wrote the line. So it's really confusing.
No, I don't think it's confusing. It's just there's multiple writers working on it. I think it's all it is, because the Simpsons writers don't write games. They don't necessarily know how much they're going to have to contribute to it. And it probably was just sort of like they're sending them a bunch of jokes that they can come up with, and then you have people that work in video games also writing things that they know are related to the game that they are making. I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, that's true. It is. I just want to know like what some of those cut voice lines were.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just need to know like what can be so offensive that it can't be in a video game. Like,
I know.
it's wild.
It's very silly.
Yeah, and then we can kind of get into the reviews. I mean, as you expect, it's not well received really at all. I think the positives people tend to give it are the kind of voice acting, and a lot of people do think that it does look in certain aspects like okay.
I think for a PlayStation 1 game, it's very colorful and like is full of, and like the part of the fun is seeing some of the Simpson world and characters just rendered in this environment, you know, like I think for 2001, like it was too late for a game to be looking like this, but for a PS1 game, if this had come out like 5 years earlier, I think like it would have received a lot better visually. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it doesn't, even though it's like not really well received, it sells okay. I don't have like raw sales numbers, but I know that at one point in, I think the EU, it's like in like the top 10 like sales at one point. I don't know if it's like specifically the month it released. I think a big piece of that truly is the wrestling branding that's around it. Like I think that has a big thing to do with this game, and I also think it's just, you know, it's what we see with Simpsons games a lot, where it's like it has the Simpsons name on it or it has wrestling on it, and then people buy it and they're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can kind of just jump into it now. I think we've kind of talked around it a little bit. You know, this game is marketed as Simpsons Wrestling. It's not a wrestling game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, like, I played this back when it originally came out. I never owned it, but my friend Will had it, and we would play it together at the time because both of us really loved The Simpsons. And I mean, like, neither of us are wrestling heads, so we had like no expectations for the wrestling thing. So part of the appeal, you know, playing it at the time was like hearing the characters say jokes, like voiced by the same voice actors.
I am so great. I am so great. Grate. I am so great. I'll teach you to corrupt my children. That's my job, you know, talent bozo wannabe. Oh my God, space aliens, don't eat me. I have a wife and kids. Eat them first.
You know, in my opinion, violence never solved anything. But there's a first time for everything. In charge, living large. The name is Marge. Thank you. Thank you. Dear Lord, you are a stinky man.
I got you now, you little punk, and I'm gonna use your head for a bucket and paint my house with your brains.
Where does the line start for my driver's test? Kill them, you idiot.
And seeing what sort of powers that they had that were related to the characters. And those are the two things that I cared about. And like, I don't think we got a lot of play time out of it because it is a hard game and it's like, and it is a little janky and there's not a lot to it ultimately. So like, we didn't play it a lot, but like, I still have nostalgia for it because it was just fun playing the Simpsons characters and hearing them talk and seeing like Mo with a board, wielding a board with a nail on it, and you know, like Smithers throwing out Blinky, and like Marge throwing Maggie out, like, you know, fun character based like powers and references and stuff like that, and that's the enjoyment we got out of it. But like, I think that, but in all fairness, like, we weren't expecting a wrestling game. We were just like, we're expecting a Simpsons game. A lot of people obviously like wrestling, and there are wrestling games that exist, and it's called Simpsons Wrestling. And so it makes sense to go into it with that expectation to be playing a wrestling game and then not get that and be like doubly angry about that experience.
I think that as a kid, I would have loved this game. I swear I played this, but I just don't have any memory of it. But I think as an adult, like, it was not a good experience. Although I will say it was a good experience because how we actually approached this, we should tell the listeners, we actually all got into a room together and played the game together. We weren't able to do multiplayer with it because I forgot that I didn't actually own this game. And so we had to emulate it. But yeah, we got to actually get in the same room together and play it. And yeah, I mean,
I think we would have enjoyed it more if we could have played it versus probably, because part of the trouble is that the AI for this game is really hard. Or either the AI is hard or the game playability wise is so janky that it is just hard to play against the AI characters.
Yeah.
So like, I think that was part of the frustration that we had, is that like we couldn't play each other. We were just playing these fucking AI characters we couldn't beat, basically.
This is a classic example of a title change may have affected people's perception.
Yeah.
Similar to how I've talked about how when Mortal Kombat came out with that movie recently, I want to say in the last 5 years, it's a good movie. It's not a good Mortal Kombat movie.
Sure.
Cowboy Bebop live action. The storyline was cool, but it wasn't a Cowboy Bebop movie. Cowboy Bebop live action. You know, if they change the name, it makes it probably is received better. It may not sell as much, but I think people receive it differently. I think if this was called Simpsons Brawl, I think maybe it's a little bit different. But when you're a wrestling fan, and you're going in thinking it's going to be wrestling, I think you expect to have wrestling moves, and I think that's kind of what threw me off. And just even though we had fun playing it, I think that playing the story mode, it felt like things were easy, and then we got to a point where the AI was like, all right, let me go ahead and lean forward and really play the game. And then he kicked all of our asses for the next however many times we tried.
It was ridiculous.
It was bad. Honestly, I went home and I was angry. I just, that's all I thought was like, I had to play a different game and win something to make myself feel better, because we could not beat that level. It was ridiculous. So
we never got past Bumblebee Man, right? Like
we
were
never beat
all
Bumblebee
stuck on
Man.
Bumblebee Man. Yeah. Wild.
He's gonna haunt my dreams forever. I might have to like download this game to like do it myself, because I will literally just focus on beating him, just to say I did it. 'Cause I can't let that go. You know.
I mean, listen, like I play hard games a lot. Like I love like Souls series and stuff like that. Bumblebee Man was like the most frustrating experience I have had in a game in a long time. The only thing that I think made it not frustrating was, again, that we were all kind of like taking turns and trying it, and like we were all trying like our damnedest to actually get through it. Like there was just like a level of like, I don't know, if we had just spent like another 4 hours on it, we would have got through it. But
yeah, but it wouldn't have been fun spending those 4 hours doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I think that too is like indicative of like something wrong with your game when the when the difficulty spikes like that, and not in a fun way.
Yeah, it's also we complained about this when we were playing it. It's a real problem that you can't switch characters during the story tournament mode, like because certain characters are just better at are better at certain things. Like there is a bit of balancing in this game where some characters are better at fast moves, some are, heavy tanks and stuff like that. Yep. And I think we were just playing as Krusty for a while, just like randomly. I don't think it was a very intentional choice. It was just one that we landed on that we started winning with. And Krusty was a pretty terrible match for Bumblebee Man because Krusty is really slow.
Yeah.
But like if we wanted to change to a different character, we would have to start from the beginning, which is ridiculous for a game like this. Like that seems absurd to have to do that.
Every fighting game I've ever seen, if you lose in the arcade mode or in the story mode, you're able to switch the character.
It's just,
and you're able to pick up where you're at. So like having to if you wanted to switch, go back to the beginning was just it was frustrating, I guess.
Yeah. And if the combat was fun, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? But that's the other challenge is like the combat just it's just not there. Like it truly isn't. Like they focus a lot, I think, in this game on giving characters like a little bit of differentiation to the point where like there's not really consistency across like what you're able to do, if that makes sense. Like
I don't mind that in theory though, because I think that could be a fun part of how the game is built, especially for something like this, where like they are all literally cartoon characters with big personalities, and many of their moves are references to the show. Like I think that is a good scenario to capitalize on that, and even make it a gimmick that like every character is wildly different in how they're built and their moveset. I think that the trouble is that like that's grasped onto very, very simple buttons, and like there's technically combos in this game, but like not really. Like,
and it's hard to pull them off too.
Yeah. Like, I think that idea is great in theory, but it has to be a better built game from the ground level, and probably is really hard to pull off in a 3D environment too. I think that would have been better to pull off for like a 2D, side scroller fighting game.
There's a lot of things they could have done differently, and I think the big one I always come back to is like, if they just made this a 2D fighter, I think you solve a lot of problems that you run into with this game. 100%. I wouldn't even care if it was like super repetitive combat, because there's a lot of like 2D fighter games that are super repetitive combat, and it's like, it's fine. Like you just have different flavors of fighting games. I think the fact that this was, again, it was 3D, it's hard to like maneuver your character. It's the environments really aren't like, they're interesting, but they're not that interesting. Like, I think there's so much that like, if it's like one thing changes, like it goes up like a tier, in my opinion. And just for the listeners, I do want to just mention like what this game does offer. So there's 18 total playable characters, and that includes, you can actually play as Smithers with Mr. Burns in a bonus matchup, and you can play as King and Kodos in a bonus matchup, and then Itchy and Scratchy are playable in bonus matchups as well. Outside of that, you have Homer, Bart, Lisa, Marge, Barney, Krusty, Apu, Groundskeeper Willie, Bumblebee Man, Moe, Professor Frink, Ned Flanders, and that's it. And
it's a fun assortment of characters. It just sucks that there's that few of them.
For sure.
It's, man, when that fan art of like Homer and Bart as wrestling characters, like they could have had a huge roster of characters that were in like wrestling personas, even if they're made up. They don't have to be based on like WWE or WCW, but they could have like multiple different Barts, right? Like, with different costumes and stuff like that, and different move sets.
Bart
that would have.
Yeah,
like that would have been such a good way to like approach this, but instead, like, especially when you think of like, again, we talked about a couple wrestling games that are like, cream of the crop. When you look at a good wrestling game, what is the main thing that people look at is the roster of characters. And like, like you have the main characters here, but like the roster is so little that it like doesn't really offer you that much, unfortunately.
And it does seem like there were opportunities for other characters to be in there. I think we talked about Sideshow Bob being a character. I feel like Duffman is like built for a wrestling game. I feel like,
absolutely.
Again, as somebody who's not like a Simpsons guy, I just feels like this is who you would want in the game. Like, it feels built for him. And the background characters were cool, and seeing those, I think we had talked about that. Just seeing like, the atmosphere of the arenas and the different places that you can go felt Simpson-y, and it felt like a Simpsons game, but it's just like, it felt missed opportunities for so many characters to be in the actual game and you to play as them.
Yeah. In their defense, I don't think they could have gotten Kelsey Grammer to do a voice in a video game. So Sideshow Bob probably would have been out, but every other character, like Radioactive Man could have been one. Yeah. Comic Book Guy could have done some fun stuff. I know he like has a voice role in it, but it's like, there's so many, like a fun, like fan fiction-y thing you could do is just think of like any Simpsons character and be like, what would their moveset be? And like, there's so many different directions you can go in. And it's like, yeah, such a missed opportunity. It's so clearly just like a budget and time has to be the only reason they didn't do it. Because they have all the voice actors that would voice all of those characters here already,
Budget, time, and the fact that it's like, it's locked to the PlayStation 1. Like, I think there is like a limitation to it being on the PlayStation 1 that they probably weren't able to get as many. But I mean, that said, there's other wrestling games that have bigger rosters than what this game has on the PlayStation 1. So like, and like Simpsons Wiki has a total list of all the background characters. There's 49 different background characters. And like, there's some that just like looking at this list, I immediately am like, yeah, make him a character. You have Snake, Jailbird. Like,
oh my God, he'd be a
perfect opportunity. We mentioned Sideshow Mel or Sideshow Bob, but Sideshow Mel. You can have Sideshow Mel if you can't have Sideshow Bob. Poochie.
Oh my God, yeah.
Grandpa, Abe Simpson, like that would be a perfect one. Like, there's a lot of different ones here. Even like Matt Groening shows up in the background, which is really cool. Make Matt Groening a playable character. How fucking cool would that be? And like he would do voice lines for it, like I'm sure
an unlockable thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I read that for a while in the King Kodos level, they were going to have Bender and Leela in the background from Futurama making cameos there. And like they even like had you can find a screenshot of like when they had them there, and then for whatever reason took them out. But like they could have gotten even wilder and had like one of them as a playable character or something. You know, like
there's
why
so
not?
much. There's so much they could have done. The other thing, and this is where like, again, I get that we've already said this isn't a wrestling game, but it's marketed as one. Like there are different opportunities they could have taken to make this. There's no like tag team matchup in this option. There's no like real story mode. Like there's no story to be frank. And like we just spent a whole hour and a half talking about why the story is so important in wrestling and why that leads to people being interested in wrestling.
Ooh,
Zero
yeah.
story into like what is actually going on in this.
Dude, they could have had like cut scenes in the middle of each match or whatever. Like with like, I know that they have the Simpsons characters like giving their taunts to each other, but there's no reason they couldn't have had some cut scenes of some crazy drama happening in Springfield that's like leading into this next match and why these two characters being paired together, you know?
It's this exercise in like even in the aspects of this game that I enjoy are just like so tampered down because of like what they could have done to make this better. And I think the fact that like they kind of, I mean, I'll just say it, I think they fail so miserably at like making this game that like I don't think we would ever get like a Simpsons Wrestling 2, right? That like kind of fixes a lot of these different things, and it's really frustrating because I think there is a really interesting product here. They just completely miss out on it. The other thing I would just note too, wrestling games at the time, a big thing for them is creating a wrestler. Why is there no create a wrestler option in this in like the Simpsons style? That would have been the greatest thing they could have done.
It's right there. It's right there. Opportunity for it, man. I was thinking also just the entrances. There's no entrances.
Yeah.
Like how crazy would it be to watch Lisa play a jazz number on that saxophone coming down to the ring? That would be so fire.
Yeah.
But it's like I appreciate the pre-match, taunts. I think that's something we all like, just the taunts, and it felt personal between whoever was in the ring.
Homer, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I will be hurting everything else.
Counseling? I'll give you some freaking marriage counseling.
I prepared my whole life for this moment.
You helped me out before, Bart. Now I need you to take a fall for me.
Get ready, Willie. I'm about to give you a real Highland fling.
I'll get you, Bart Simpson, if it's the last thing I do.
I love that part. But just having them come down to the ring to like different things and just, interact with like maybe the crowd or like just anything to just make it feel like wrestling versus what we actually got.
Yeah. And even if like they didn't change the combat, right, so that it felt more like, wrestling style combat, if they had added that, like that would have like made it feel more like wrestling. In fact, like even in some of those interviews I was listening to, the folks who worked on the game, they talked a lot about how, like, again, I mentioned they said like we wish they'd changed the name of the game. They even went as far as to be like, man, we wish we had made this like more like Power Stone, like where you're like moving, which like when they said that, I was like, oh damn, that actually would have been
That
great.
would be fire.
Power Stone, Derek, is a fighting game. I don't know if you've ever played it or seen
Stone.
it. The environment is a lot more dynamic in Power Stone, right? Like you can like interact with like the environment and like move to different places and stuff like that. And like, man,
well, Springfield is such a big part of the Simpsons. Like,
yes,
that's so seems so obvious.
But yeah, they were more talking about it in a sense of like, if we had done that, then people would like, maybe we could have gotten them to change the name kind of thing. But like, yeah, it's just a miss on so many different levels.
I still think they could do, you're right. They would never do a Simpsons Wrestling 2, but they could do some kind of Simpsons fighting game inspired by the idea here. You know what I mean? Like, I think a Simpsons fighting game is a great idea, and is a bummer that they never really tried that again. Like, it's weird that they hadn't done something like that already, and a bummer they never tried that again.
Do you know how easy it is to have Homer Simpson in a fighting game and his fighting style is Taekwondo? Do you know how easy that is?
That's great. That's great.
That's so easy.
That's perfect.
That's I just thought of that on the fly. Like, that's
Oh, boy.
so simple.
It's so yeah. The other thing, this is more just a me thing, but did either of you have a chance to look at the manual by chance?
No, I didn't. I definitely would have seen it when I was, when the game
Man.
came out, but I don't remember anything about it.
Bad manual. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, so here's the thing. They give you a lot of information about the game, but then you get into the fighters, and this honestly like is a big gripe of mine. And I don't mind them, like, all the manuals like make jokes and stuff like that. However, in a game where there's, and it's not that complex of a game playing thing, but like different characters have different actual attacks. All of the characters that they show you, they show, like, for example, Krusty, they say his primary attack is pie throwing and other shenanigans. Primary defense, claiming it was part of the act. Also known for stealing someone's bit, losing bets, and slapping his name on just about anything for a buck. There's actual gameplay elements you can be talking about in those things that they don't do, and it's so frustrating to me. It's just like, what are you doing?
So like, because they can still do both. They can have jokes, character jokes, and also tell you how to play the fucking game at the same time. Other manuals that we've seen for these games have done it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good. I also think, like, I'll also just note too, I think that their bits, like, some of the times are just lazy. Like, for Marge, like, they say primary attack, nagging, primary defense, blue die number 56. That's kind of fun. Also known for more nagging. And it's just like,
you can do better.
Yeah, you can do way better than that.
Marge, especially Marge is one of the toughest characters in the game, especially with Maggie running around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you could have done more with that.
God. I just know I would have been a kid, like, looking up, like, trying to go to the manual to be like, how do I figure this out? And then seeing, like, primary defense, blue die 56. I'm like, how do I activate that? What does that mean? What do I do? Like, it's so frustrating to me in that level where it's just like, come on, y'all. Like, you can do better than this.
I know that this is off topic from the manual, but they do Marge dirty in a lot of ways because also she has, like, the least voice lines out of everyone. Like, you can, if you look up, like, on the wiki and have the full list of everyone's voice lines, a lot of people, like, Homer has a giant fucking chunk of them. Mo has a metric shit ton of them. Marge
Mo has the most.
Mo has the most for some reason. Marge has 7. Marge has 7 things that she says.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. What else? What else about this game?
I think it looks great. I do want to say that for the first 3D Simpsons game, I think it looks great. Even with the just being on the regular PlayStation. I think that if you're a Simpsons fan, you felt like, except for, who did we say didn't look great when we played it? I forgot who we said was like, ooh, that was rough. Maybe Mo, maybe?
I think it was some front-facing ones. I think Krusty, when he was front-facing, looked really
something like that,
really bad. But, like, front-facing Simpsons look bad on the show sometimes too. So, take it or leave it.
Right. Yeah, but as a game, it feels like you're playing. It feels like you're playing a Simpsons episode. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it feels like you're moving and the characters are what's called. So that is a positive that I did take away from the game.
Yeah, and I also think too, like, I don't think it looks terrible. I think that, like, it is unfortunate. I think that the black outline actually does a lot for the look of the characters. I think it's pretty distinct. Mm-hmm. When you actually look up, like, the characters, the 3D models without it, I don't think they do look that great.
Yeah.
And I think that it really helps a lot. And I think, like, we tend to kind of, like, shit on, executives and producers. I think they were kind of right that it needed to look better. But I also think, like, once you learn that it, like, hinders the performance, it's like, no, you got to figure something else out. Like, I honestly, like, there's part of me that's just like, maybe they should have just canceled this game. Like, truthfully, because there's a lot of aspects about it that just feels like it's unpolished and it's unfinished in a way that, like, you just kind of wonder, like, would they have been better off of just, like, shelving it and then maybe
restarting
it
for PS2? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like you're so in like close to like the PS2 era with like some of the better Simpsons games that it's just like if they had just held on to this for a little bit longer and just said, you know, at this point in time, like everything else is just on PlayStation 2, maybe we just need to start over or just port this to PlayStation 2, they would have had so many like issues fixed, I think.
Right.
But
yeah. It is a bummer because I do think that this game, there's another universe where this game is a gem because it's very, very funny and like the fighting, the combat could be really unique and everything. Like I know, like I said, the actual process of doing the combat sucks, but the individual character based power set, like the ideas are really imaginative and really fun. And I think it's very clear that this was a game in the writing sense that was being made by fans of the show. Like there are fun little references and there's fun jokes. They aren't like, there's some things that are just reference humor where their characters just repeating lines like Ralph says, my cat's breath smells like cat food in the background. Like you overhear that, you know, there's sometimes the characters repeat things that they've said in the show. Bart obviously says like, eat my shorts, but there's also stuff that's like fun twists. Like, you know, the bit in The Simpsons where Homer's like dancing and saying, I am so smart, SMRT. In this, he says, I am so great, GRATE. So like, it's great. They're playing on known Simpsons jokes too, which I think is a sign that there's being thought put into this. They aren't writing based on no Simpsons knowledge, but they also aren't just leaning too hard on just pulling random jokes from the show. They are trying to make things that are unique to this game that are also funny, that would be funny to Simpsons references, but it would also just be funny, period. And I give this game a lot of credit for that because the 99% of the games that we played up to this point haven't even fucking tried and have not been funny like at all, or have not been Simpsons humor at all, you know? Like this may be outside of Virtual Springfield, and I guess like Cartoon Studio, but like those are their own weird things. Out of the sort of regular video games, this is the first one that I played that I feel like actually feels like extremely Simpsons-y in how it's you know how it's built writing wise and performance wise. Yeah. I know that's jumping to like the final question at the end, but it's just like I do feel like that is kind of foundational for why I can't just like totally throw this game in the garbage, because I do think it does offer that and makes it more frustrating because there was a lot of potential for it to be something kind of really special, and it would have always been janky probably, but it could have been like a really fun, charming janky rather than like a frustrating janky. You know what I mean?
I think this is one of those examples of a game that is bogged down by the game and not the Simpsons aspect of it.
Exactly.
But I will say, I mean, I think that it is very like surface level Simpsons stuff, right? Like I guess the voice lines and stuff like that are a little bit deeper, but like thinking of like it's mostly just like visuals and like certain places. But
that's fair.
I guess there's not really much else that you can really do, like if you're not going to introduce storylines. That's my biggest complaint. I think is fair. Like, especially just given like what wrestling is. Like if you're gonna do a wrestling game, do a wrestling game. Also, Derek, you said this when we were talking about like storylines in the WWE. You said it sounds like really cartoony violence. What better way to enact cartoony violence than in a cartoon wrestling game? And they just completely miss.
True. That's
like,
so true.
Imagine like being able to like pull out a ladder and like Bart like, you know, do an elbow drop like off the ladder or something. Like I don't know, like that they obviously wouldn't do that, but like.
But even if they have weapons in this game, like Willie, who is shirtless, by the way, I love that. Like out of all the Simpsons characters that are the exact same designs, like regular designs of the show, Willie's just shirtless and totally fucking ripped the whole time. I love that. That rules.
Perfect.
But like he's wielding a fucking rake the whole time. Like you could do more fun shit with that. You know, yeah. I think making this game more violent would have made it better. Honestly.
Yeah. Stik. What are your final thoughts? How does this stack up as a Simpsons game?
I will say this. Listening to y'all and just knowing the very minimum about Simpsons, this feels like a Simpsons game. It feels like you're transported into Springfield and, you know, you're in it feels like you're part of the community of the characters, right? And it feels like a Simpsons game, where the problem comes for me is I'm expecting a wrestling game, unfortunately, and that's where it's different. But since this is a Simpsons podcast, I think it does do a lot of Simpsons things correctly. You got the voice actors, the animation looks fine, the jokes are funny in here. It just feels like a lot of the things that would have made this a good game are missing. So your story mode, maybe have a championship belt on the line, interest is in the, what I'm saying? There's so many things that could be there, like what are the motivations of the characters? Maybe Lisa wants to, Lisa's always has different things. Bart wants to create it, whatever, it's the tension championship, or Homer wants to have the beer championship. There's so many things they could have did that would have bridged both gaps together. And I think that, like Derek said, in a different universe, in a different alternate timeline, this game is probably the best Simpsons game there is.
Yeah.
But, as far as the Simpsons game, they nailed it. And I think, they build upon this in later games, but as far as an actual game itself, it's it's tough. It's tough to actually play through.
Stik, you just said no championship belt, and I almost lost my mind. I didn't even think about that. That is such an egregious thing.
Yeah, actually, that's a real good point.
Why? There's no wrestling paraphernalia other than the turn, the ropes and the turnbuckles and the actual mat.
It's not a wrestling game. It's just a fighting game.
It's just a fighting Simpsons game. Yeah. I think you both nailed it. My thoughts exactly. I think as a Simpsons game, you have a lot of the stuff that you need. I think they could have done more. I'll be a harsh critic on it. I think they still could have done more with the Simpsons-y stuff. I think the thing that I would ding it for is lack of characters. I think that is a wrestling thing, but that's also a Simpsons thing.
Fair.
You have a lot of characters in the background, but not that many in the foreground. And I think that is something that if you're going to make a wrestling game and a Simpsons wrestling game, that's got to be front and center, whether it's actually a wrestling game or not. And then I think it just it's so weighed down just by what it is and the faults. And so, it's Simpsons-y, I will say, but I think that there was a lot of stuff that they just really missed out on.
But is it that much worse than every other game that we've played, though, on that regard?
I mean,
in terms of being Simpsons-y, I mean,
Simpsons-y, yes.
You know what I mean? It could have done more, but it does a lot more than basically every other game other than Virtual Springfield does,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, Bart versus Radioactive Man, I think is more Simpsons-y. In a
very
weird,
specific Simpsons
corner case kind of way, yeah. Virtual Springfield, which you already said is kind of a weird one.
You know what? Yeah. I think we can save this conversation for whenever we inevitably do updated rankings, because I think this will be I'm not sure where I would place this game, actually.
I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough to think about because I do think, it's undeniably Simpsons-y. I just don't know that I don't know if I can give it to it. You know what I mean? It's just holding me back because of just what it is. Yeah. So
I just love that phrase too. Undeniably Simpsons-y. It's very Simpsonian, very Simpsonian.
Yeah. And I'm thinking too, I wonder how much of being the first 3D game and having the voice acting really helps build that Simpson-y thing up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of Game Boy games can't have that. And you know what I'm saying? So how much of that is carrying the Simpson-y portion of it for y'all? It'll be interesting to see when y'all do another tier ranking, man. I'm excited to see how y'all rank these after the initials and the midway through.
Yeah, me too.
Same here. I also do just want to say, and I set this up, and it is everything we're saying is correct. Technically, I guess Virtual Springfield would be the first 3D Simpsons game. This is the first one with 3D characters. I just want to set that up for anybody who tries to come for us, because what we are saying is correct. But it is, it's Virtual Springfield has the other kind of 3D stuff. But anyway, all that aside, Stik, This was an absolute blast having you on. I feel like we only scratched the surface of everything we could talk about wrestling wise. So very happy to have had you here to back me up as we get Derek up to speed on the Attitude Era and the NWO. If folks wanted to find you and all of the really cool stuff you were working on, where can they look?
Oh man. Stick around 54, STIK around 54 on Instagram and Twitter. If you're looking to look at some books, man, braxtonbooks.com. 3 poetry collections, 2 novels, the Alicia Parsons series. Podcast wise, you can check out Clueless Vino, where wine is what we drink, not what we do. You can also check out Starships Essential, a podcast about Charles Hampton, music, moments, and everything in between. And Two Tall Boys podcast, where me and Keem just try to make it another episode without getting canceled. And Together We Anime, where we try to bring the casuals, the weebs, and everybody in between up to speed with some of the anime classics that we may have watched, and just some other ones that, we're watching for the first time. And other than that, man, I wrote a alternative rock rap album that someone's working on.
Oh my God! What? That's so cool.
What?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. I'm waiting on that to be recorded. I'm waiting on that. So.
Do you have any time frame on when that might end up being out? I'm assuming it's gonna be a while.
No time frame. But when it's done, I'll let everybody know for sure.
That's awesome.
Oh, we will definitely promote that when it is out. That is sick. Yeah. Definitely check out everything Stik is working on that is currently out and in the future. I meant everything I said. Your podcasts are amazing. Your poetry collections, your books, all just great stuff. So please go check all that stuff out. And again, really, really glad to have had you on this episode. It was a lot of fun.
Always glad to be on here, man. Anytime I get on one of these podcasts, I always tell y'all I love what y'all doing at Glitter Jaw. Y'all are some of my favorite podcasts. I love what y'all do. Y'all are my friends. And, keep doing what you're doing. And if you ever happen to have a wrestling podcast on this podcast network, you know where to find me.
Hey, listen.
A lot of gay people love wrestling. Like it's some pretty queer shit there, and I see it. I see those fucking giant men in tiny little underwear, like jump tackling each other. I get it. So it's only a matter of time before someone starts it. I feel like
I can see it happening in the future. Stik, don't you worry. But again, we're so happy to have you on. Of course, if our ideas are intriguing to you and you wish to subscribe to our newsletter, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We are at Simpsons Gaming Pod. You can also email us questions, corrections, or just Simpsons quotes you really like at simpsonsgaming@gmail.com. Or you can follow us each individually. Derek, where can folks find you and all of your lovely shows?
Sure, you can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. I have many shows. They include Wobbling Web Snappers, a Spider-Man podcast where we do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. I also have Screonk, where we look at the Godzilla films. I have Falling with Style, where we had previously gone through all of the Pixar films. We're all caught up. We have done some mini-series. We've done some other non-Pixar related things, so that feed is still active. And I also have Gimmicks, where we look at high-concept episodes of television. What about you, Tommy?
As for me, I am at Awkward Comma. You can follow me on Blue Sky or on Instagram. You can also check out my other show, Distant Echoes, a Star Wars podcast, where my partner Cass and I watch each episode of every Star Wars TV series in whatever order we please. Of course, we already mentioned this, but this podcast is a proud member of the Glitterjaw Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, you can check out the full roster of shows at glitterjaw.com. And of course, we always have to shout them out. Our incredible music was recorded by the band whose name you'd love to touch, but you mustn't touch. That's right, it's Max Power. A few of those dudes are now in a Taylor Swift cover band called Taylor's Version VA. Absolutely go give them a follow on social. Taylor's Version VA everywhere. And of course, remember, as always, tell your parents to listen to Lee Carvallo's Potting Challenge, or
as Simpson 316 says, I just doed your ass.
Yo! Let's go. Did you just come up with that?
I just came up. I don't ever think of these things in advance until like 10 minutes before I have to do it, and that's how I get my best workout. Is working under pressure, man.
That is perfect. I love that. Anyway, go to hell, everyone.
Hell yeah.